Chiclets fans, Biz here. We want you to like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And just maybe, if enough of you subscribe, we'll put out more original content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 397 of Spittin Chiclets, presented by Pink Whitney from our friends at New Amsterdam Vodka here in the Barstool Sports podcast family. What's going on, everybody? Free agency is going to be here soon. Lots of signings, lots of trades, whole bunch of shit going on. We're going to get to that shortly. But, of course, we like to say hi to the fellas first. We'll go to our producer, Mikey Grinelli, first. What's going on, my friend?
Nothing really. Been struggling a bit lately. I have nothing to do in my free time. I need a hobby. I'm such a loser. I don't like to watch TV. So, I was thinking of starting instrument lessons or something like that. So I've been struggling a bit, but I'm trying to find a hobby. So if you guys have any suggestions, I'm open to anything.
What kind
Don't
of
play golf.
I was thinking piano, RA. I used to take piano lessons when I was a kid, so I think I got like piano hands. I got like the weirdest fucking hands in the world. So I was thinking of doing piano.
Oh, there you go. Little chopsticks going on.
Yeah, golf's too expensive. What do you think piano lessons cost from someone good? $100 an hour?
Well, you can just pay the woman in Meatballs. Remember in Wedding Singer when she just pays Adam Sandler in Meatballs? Put out your hand. I'll give you some meatballs. Great movie. If anyone's never seen it, I don't know. That's the only thing I know about the price of piano lessons.
We'll see what happens there. Paul, Biz Nasty Bissonette coming to us from the West Coast once again. How are we feeling there, buddy?
Boys, I'm licking my wounds. What a weekend. My buddy Justin York and his beautiful wife Jackie got married in Qualicum Beach, which is on Vancouver Island. It's about 2.5 hours north of Victoria. So we all made the drive up. Some people came over from the mainland. Beautiful ceremony right on their beach, right out in front of their place. Probably the most I've ever cried at a wedding. It was very emotional.
Wow.
Yeah. Could have been the 60 drinks I crushed beforehand that caused that. But this friend group, they know how to party. So this is the most hurting I've ever been for a pod, 2-day hangover. But excited to talk about free agency, talk about the draft, talk about the matching suits on the Coyotes going up. Looks like they were in the fucking groomsmen party, for crying out loud, with those matching suits. But a great weekend. Congratulations to my friend, and great seeing everybody from the West Coast that I hang out with.
How was the best man speech? That's always and the maid of honor speech. I'm always into those.
Both unbelievable.
The maid of honor one was?
Yeah, she was great. Yeah, wow. A lot of I would say every single speech was 10 out of 10, and it went by, and they broke them up perfectly. They didn't drag on too long. As far as the best man speech, it was actually double-headed by my buddy Jeff, who helps us out with the pod, Jeff Jacobson, and SK. So all in all, 10 out of 10, and their uncle, who owns an airplane hangar by Qualicum Beach, they had shuttles take us over, so that's where like the after hours was, and that ended up going to about 3:30 in the morning. Our friend who's a DJ the whole thing. Yeah, buddy, it just got completely rowdy. No wonder the parents didn't want the after hour situation going on underneath the tent outside of their place on Qualicum Beach. So we pushed the limits, and like I said, we were really licking our wounds on Sunday. Our fucking loons, Jesus Christ. They're
like, hey, Dad, can we have the after hours at your house? He's like, is Paul Bissonette coming? Yeah, nope. Find a new spot.
I'm not even the bad one from our group. We have some crazy animals in the gang. So.
I didn't mean to basically dog women and their speeches for maid of honor.
No, you did.
For the most part, I think even many girls and women out there may agree that for some reason, I don't know, at weddings, the maid of honor speech can be a little bit painful. It's a little awkward usually. And usually it's like, remember the time that I braided your hair? It's like, all right, come on.
And you were puking and I held
Remember the time we were scissoring and oops.
Shit. Sorry. Yeah. Remember how hard
I told you guys at my sister's wedding, one of the what do you call them, maids of honor?
Bridesmaids.
Braids of honor.
Guys, I know
they were all
going to be about 26 bizisms in this one because my brain is not clicking.
No, but all the girls were named Paulina.
Yeah.
Because she only smashes Pauls.
You're an idiot.
That's my favorite running thing is that your sister just loves balls.
Loves balls. This one got so pickled, she ended up getting on the mic 4 times, and my aunt had to finally go, "Hey, done."
Oh, really? She got the hook.
She got the hook.
Nah.
Yeah. Yeah, I told everybody at the wedding that we'd ran out of hard liquor, so they had to switch over to beer thanks to the one who kept popping on the mic. And then she tried walking back up, and then once again my aunt come in with the clothesline. Nah. It was, but hey, when somebody gets fucked up and then they end up hitting up the mic too much, at the end of the day, it's just pure entertainment. So it's at their expense, but nonetheless, a very entertaining wedding. So moving on to that, RA, you got to tee up Whit, because Whit had a very interesting day on the golf course.
No pun intended. Tee up Whit, of course. The last but not least, Ryan, the Whit dog, Whitney. I noticed a different background behind you. I believe you're still local. Give us the update on what you're doing now and what you did in the weekend.
It was a wonderful past week. Like I mentioned, we were over in Nantucket, a lot of family over there. It's just a great time, such a special place. And we rent out the house we have for the whole summer, except for the end of August. But this year we kept the 4th of July week because never had been over there. It was a blast. It was just a really good time. Weather was amazing. It was so fun to be over there and experience that. And that was great. And then, it was exciting for me because I had mentioned I qualified for the Mass Am and the first round was today. So I've been playing pretty good. I was talking about how much fun I've been having playing golf, and I'll just quickly take you through my day right now. And I'll quickly, on the weekend, we had the qualifying for Wollaston Golf Club, one of the places I play at, the club championship. So I qualified Saturday, top 8, get into match play, and won my match Sunday, and started hitting it pretty poor at the end of the Saturday round, but got into match play and then won my match, but didn't play great. It was a pillow fight between me and the kid I played against. Looks exactly like John Rahm. Shout out Jack Davis. I call him Rambo. So I was confident in the past few weeks. And then yesterday, holy shit, I'm hitting driver like shit and just whatever though. Big first round today. So I get there today. I'm going to take you through this goddamn round of golf very quick. First hole, just bear with me, guys. I hit a drive in the rough. It's a short par 5, have to lay up. Nice little 8-iron in, dead chunk, make bogey. Next hole, hit driver about 100 yards right. Find it, luckily, don't know how, pitch out, hit it long, make an amazing up and down for another bogey, 2 over. Next hole, hit a drive, I'm not kidding you, 200 yards right of the fairway, hits a tree somehow. We have 3 minutes to find the ball with 10 seconds left. This kid's like, hey, here's your ball. I'm like, holy shit. Punch it out, hit it on, make a putt for par. Punch it out, then hit it on, make a putt for par. I'm like, all right, great. Next hole, bogey, standard 3-putt, 3 over through 4. Next hole, hit another horrible drive, hits a tree, goes in the bunker, hit it to an inch, birdie. Okay, 2 over. Next hole, another bogey, standard, horrible swing. Next hole, ridiculous up and down par, still 3 over par through 7, get to 8, standard par, actually a decent hole, par. 9th, nice little shot, and didn't make the birdie putt, par. 3 over through 9, no worries, but I'm hitting it like shit. Get to 10. Hit a 3-iron down the fairway, have 100 yards, hit that shot about 50 yards, dead chunk, chipped it on, missed the putt, another bogey. Next hole, hit a nice drive, dead center down the fairway, got 120 yards in. I chunk it again, not 50 yards, probably 80 yards. Chip it on, missed the putt, another bogey. Next hole, par, actually a decent shot. So now I'm 5 over through 10, 11, 12. Get to 13, hit a great shot, right? Just goes into the rough. I got 115 yards, skull fuck it over the green. So now I've hit chunks, sideways. Now it's a skull fuck. Chip that one. The greens are rolling so fast. Chip that one, rolls off the green against the collar. Chip that one to about 8 feet, miss it, double. So now I'm 7 over. Next hole, 14. I hit a horrific drive, just terrible. It's in a bunker, chunk it out of the bunker from 150. Then chip it on. Don't even get it on, actually. Chip it short, have a par putt, hits the pin, doesn't go in. So what is that now? 8 over. Get to the next hole, par 3, 215 yards, hit it about 40 yards right into the woods, somehow is in play. That was basically a shank, actually. Chipped it on, missed the putt. So now I'm 9 over. I get to 16, actually hit a good drive.
This sounds like a biz round.
Buddy, dude. I get to 16, actually hit a good drive. I have 190 yards in. Blow that one 20 yards right. It goes in a bunker somehow. I also it was like 30 yards short and 20 yards right. Goes in the bunker. Barely get it out of the bunker. Stays in the rough. Chip that one onto 10 feet. Missed that one. That's a double. Now 11 over. I get to the 17th hole, which is a par 5. Hit by far and away the best drive that I've probably hit in like 4 days. It runs down. I think the hole's like 520. I had 210 yards in. It rolled and rolled and rolls downhill, downwind. I'm like, nice. All right, let's make a birdie. Hit it on 2-putt, and I'll get a birdie. I'll get 10 over. Dead shank into the woods. So it was actually a pond. So 2 in, 3 out. I'm hitting my 4th. I hit it on the green. I 3-putt that one. That's a double. I'm now 13 over. And I get to 18, hit one down the middle. Perfect. Nice number. 140 to the pin. Chunk it into the bunker. Leave it in the bunker. Now I'm hitting my 4th shot. Hit the 4th shot on, make the putt. So that adds up to 14 over par, 84. I think I would say of 150 competitors, I'm probably in 140th right now. Golf's a fucking joke. It's an absolute joke. I don't even know what to say. I do have the second round tomorrow. 0 chance of getting in match play. I'd like to think I can beat 84 tomorrow. But at this point, it's just like, holy shit. Like, can't hit driver. Can't even hit a wedge. If I have a long iron, I might as well kick it. I'll get it closer to the green. Your boy's down. Your boy's down bad. So then I bombed home. Couldn't even really stay around after. By the way, showed out Concord Country Club. Place is amazing. Beautiful course. Hard course. Not as hard as I made it look, but hard.
A lot of woods.
Woods and water and fucking shit. I mean, I'm telling you, I didn't hit one ball center of the club face. Maybe the drive on 17 followed by a shank. I then drove home, got home, internet broken. So I shot over to my in-laws. Now in the basement of my in-laws, and we're recording the pod. So it's been a hell of a day. But what are you going to do? This sport's so stupid. And that's really what I have to say.
Could I recommend piano lessons?
Listen, I don't have piano hands like Borelli though. I might try to play golf lefty. I'm literally thinking of going to lefty, how I hit a baseball, how I hit a hockey puck, and just starting over. I'd probably be like a 25 handicap. And I think that's where the next play should be. So I don't really know what to say about it. Yeah.
I think it's fascinating how you're able to remember all your shots.
That is
this just happened. Impressive. I mean, this is the worst. It
doesn't matter.
You do it 5 days later.
Yeah, this is the worst round of golf. Yeah, maybe 3-4 years. I don't know. Like since I became like somewhat decent. My thing is in golf, my bad is so fucking bad that like your bad has to be like good. Like that's what good golfers are. When they don't have their stuff, they still get in the hole. And I'm lost. Yeah, it's an ugly situation, but
it's a lonely feeling.
But this is I'm sorry, one more thing. All right. No, because this is actually important.
He's actually going to go over his round from the day before.
No. This actually isn't a joke. It's a heartfelt thing. Kind of a tragic thing happened. This kid that I've gotten to know a little bit. His father's actually a member at Old Sandwich when I play. He passed away this weekend. A horrible thing at Charles River Country Club. Rick Willett, a really good guy, and his son Connor's in the tournament, and he played today. Which was, I cannot imagine how hard it was. His family was out there with him, and a lot of his friends were following him, and he shot 1 under 69, and
wow.
He was right behind me. And just to see that, I mean, talk about like just putting things in perspective, and my heart goes out to that family. Just a horrible thing, and I'm rooting for the kid Connor now.
I was going to bring up another awful thing. While you were down in Nantucket, there was a big fire down there this weekend at the Veranda Hotel.
It just happened. Yeah, I wasn't there anymore, but I saw that. No,
Huge
I know.
Fire.
My God.
Well-known hotel. And shout out to the Nantucket Fire Department, all the other fire departments who came over from the mainland or Cape Cod to help with these guys. I mean, obviously, I've said a million times, my dad was a fireman. I have a affinity for these guys, a firefighter. But then they found out that it most likely happened, and this fucking drives me crazy. Like grind my gears. This is just common sense. Like careless disposal of smoking materials. That's how this fucking fire started, which drives me crazy because like it started in the trash area. So someone must have dumped an ashtray out into trash, and that shit smolders. If you don't pour water on it, put it out. So this thing started a fire. Now it nearly killed people. The people had to go out the window. There was one couple. They just flew up from Georgia, lost everything. They can only get out in their pajamas and their cell phone. and they had to fly home. They had nothing left. And just the danger that they put the firefighters in, all these people, like it's over fucking, just put your fucking cigarettes or whatever you're smoking out. I don't smoke butts. I smoke what I smoke. And make sure it's out. Whether device I'm using, it's whatever, it's out. You know what I mean? It's fucking, it's such a careless thing that you can kill people and put people's lives in jeopardy, man. So it just drives me fucking bonkers when I hear that fires start because of careless, like, cigarette disposal or whatever, man. But anyways, I'm glad everybody was safe. I know a couple people got hurt, but everybody was no life-threatening injuries. It's just an awful fucking thing. So let's segue into something a little more cheerful.
Yeah, the draft.
He's in a sec, but Bizman, he's gonna be touring Canada with that 5 times distilled vodka infused with the old fresh pink lemonade flavor. Like I said, you can get it all over the place. It's summertime. Make sure you hit up your local package store to get it. Go to your bar, however you take it. Like I said, little club soda for me. Some people like the old chilled shot. Either way, enjoying some of that fine pink Whitney this summer. And Paul, you are on a plane again right now. Well, when are you leaving? Tomorrow, the day after? Where are you going next? Let the people know.
It's coming out on Tuesday, so I'll be leaving Tuesday at 11 a.m., heading over to Toronto. The first Pink Whitney tour appearance will be at Lake House on Wednesday, and then near my hometown in St. Catharines, Ontario, at the Mansion.
Nice.
Well, I think it's called the Mansion House. So we got the Lake House, Mansion House, a lot of houses. And then next podcast, we will be mentioning all the Western dates. I will be starting in Winnipeg. We've mentioned that. Brandon in Winnipeg and working our way west. So look out for those dates next week. So thank you to Pink Whitney. The 2022 Pink Whitney Tour begins Wednesday in TO, baby.
Nice. Hopefully you'll be recovered by then. Well, a little hair of the
dog. I'm going to
if
get to see
you're
my
not.
parents, and then I'm actually going to bring my sister's kids who are twins, have never been to a Jays game. So we got the whole game set up.
When that roof opens, it looks so sick in there.
Yeah, I call it the Sky Dome. So everyone tries to correct me, but it'll always.
No, that is the Sky Dome forever.
The Sky Dome, baby.
Remember when it first opened and like the hotel rooms were like looking on the field, so they had to put signs.
That's where I'm staying with my family
to tell people to stop smashing with the drapes open because people could see them during the game.
Yeah,
they had to close the drapes, especially with the business there. They love catching people.
The business hopping from room to room.
Oh, fuck off. But no, I'm looking forward to that. And guys, we're just over a week away from Chiclets Cup. So we will be in Buffalo in no time. We're not going to say who the guests are. We will be doing a sandbagger next Wednesday to start things off on our Buffalo trip. So a lot to jam pack into that awesome week. And Terry Ryan and crew will be coming in from Newfoundland, and we're going to have a fucking riot. So everybody who's coming, make sure you're there. Even if you're in town, folks, on the Friday, we have something at the Riverworks where everybody is invited. And Grinelli, do you want to give them a little bit more detail as maybe when that's going to start and who the musicians are?
We have Boston Levi is he'll be performing first, and then we have Dante the Don who's performing after that. Dante plays the hits. He knows what he's doing. He's the best DJ in the league. So, but guys, I have a little breaking news here. I want to bring across the table. This is from Darren Dreger. Breaking news. Sources say Evgeny Malkin has decided to go to the open market on Wednesday.
Wow.
Malkin has never been a free agent before and wants to see what his options are.
Yeah. I can't. Oh, my God, to think of him in any other jersey. Wow. And now there were rumors Sid had flown down to Florida to talk to him, I believe, as you heard that the negotiations were kind of falling apart and in a bad spot. And you know, Chris Letang got the new deal. It'll be a Penguin for life, it looks like. But holy shit. And I think people saw this. At least I saw this kind of coming. But want to bet on somebody to have a monster season? I think wherever that guy ends up, you're going to see a pissed off and motivated Evgeny Malkin. And I know there's been injuries and he gets a little older. But the people of Pittsburgh, what a shocking turn of events. Just the end of an era with those three.
Well, I mean, I guess
I don't know. How do you feel
resign
about
there?
Right?
He could resign there. Excuse me. All right, you're right.
It's not like he was going to get the 8 years anyway, because I think those guys are, and that's the thing. They gave Letang the 6-year deal that brought his AAV down. Now, I would imagine that he plans on playing the full 6 years. I think that he's still got a lot of hockey left in him. Maybe more so Malkin might want a shorter term deal, but not want the AAV down. I don't know exactly what he wants, man, but given with what that organization's done with all of them and the fact that, you know, Sid's on a pretty friendly deal for what he still provides and obviously Letang for what he's done, I think that that's a bargain. I was expecting him to stay. I thought that they were going to rekindle it and it was going to work out. And as you said, though, it's not for sure that he's going to move on. Maybe he just wants to find out what the open market can provide him to use it as leverage to go back to Pittsburgh and say, hey, this is what other people are willing to give me. But I mean, guys, given with what other teams would probably desperately pay him, and we've made comments about New York Rangers maybe trying to get Patrick Kane to come over.
Oof.
Well,
that'll be sticking right in their eye.
You'd be paying them less if of course if Chicago doesn't retain salary, and you don't got to give up any assets for him. So, wow,
it's recency bias, but I mean, it's one thing seeing Jaromir Jagr in a Rangers uni, and then, granted, he'd been with the Capitals in between. But to see Evgeny Malkin, I mean, we're just totally rumor boying it right now. Who knows if the Rangers want him or could afford him? But Panarin there, another Russian, just crazy news. And I think with what Malkin did in Pittsburgh, I mean, it's just surprising that they couldn't figure something out. I guess it is a good point that he could go back and sign there. But how often does a guy who's coming up on UFA decide to test the market and then go back to the team, right? I mean, I guess when did Landeskog sign? Was it during the first day of free agency? Or was it a little beforehand? I can't remember.
I think they ended up locking in him beforehand because he did get the 8 years.
So Malkin's a Flyers confirmed.
Oh my goodness!
No, a lot of people online right now are saying the Washington Capitals. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, anyone in the Patrick division.
God, every team we just mentioned, it would just break Pittsburgh Penguins' hearts. Now, I know that he loves Florida and he spends a lot of time there. I want to say Gaunch has a place there as well, and they're on the rise and they need to make a move. I just don't know if they would have enough cap space in order to figure that situation out. But I would say my front runner would be the Florida Panthers if he did not sign with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Okay. Do you think that he ends up a Pittsburgh Penguin next season? Yes or no? I'm going to say no.
No. If this is happening, no.
All right.
No, he doesn't seem to want to take this sort of hometown discount that Sid talked about in an interview years ago. Everybody needs to take less. I think Gino's is, we know he marches to the beat of his own drummer. And I mean, I don't think he's coming back, even though if it's still possible. And
as much as I love Pittsburgh, I will stroke off that organization, that city, everything they've done for me in my life. I do think that sometimes the fan base can be a little bit harsh. You saw Marc-Andre Fleury go through it. He obviously has thick skin because he never really let it affect him, where they were willing to trade him after his quote unquote prime was up. When Matt Murray came in, he was the brand new shiny toy. They always seem to have a scapegoat in Pittsburgh. And I mean, maybe Mark Madden's not exactly the guy to lean on for the most accurate hockey news, but he was all over him most this season. And so were most of the other part of the fan base. So maybe he's also sick and tired of that. And he's saying, I'm bringing my talents elsewhere. And maybe that played a factor.
Yeah. Well,
it not wanting to take a hometown discount.
It's very true about Penguins fans and Malkin. It's always been bizarre to me. And like my buddy Jake, he's the head pro at Naples National. He's a huge Penguins fan from Pittsburgh. He told me his dad can't stand him. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, it just drives him nuts as a fan. It's like, there are so many people who I think have been so spoiled by Crosby and the old term of like really not taking a night off, when maybe there's been some games Gino's just kind of lugging it and dogging it a little bit. But to be frustrated and not be a fan of his as a Penguin fan is bananas to me.
Yeah, no doubt. We got tons more free agent stuff to get to.
Guys, I have some more breaking news.
Oh my God. Are you fucking kidding me? What's happening right now?
Pierre LeBrun. This is from Pierre LeBrun. Hearing that Cup champion Avalanche have agreed to an 8-year extension with Valerie Nichushkin.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Even though you missaid it, you got biz brain right now. Nichushkin?
Nichushkin.
Isn't it Nichushkin?
Yeah, Nichushkin.
Well, that was.
What would you say?
The money?
I would say 5 or 5.5 would be a very good deal. Any more than that, I would just get a little bit weary. Now, you ask anybody, he's an analytic darling. He obviously wasn't. Why are you laughing already?
Just told you an analytic darling.
Just as far as all the underlying numbers, and then it just goes to point. The eye test, you can obviously see all of it, and his contributions through these playoffs. We often lean to try to compare, like the second wave of player getting it done, like how Palat did it during their couple runs and what his contributions were. You saw that from him, but you also haven't seen a ton else maybe in seasons prior. We could go back to his Dallas days and maybe how he wasn't happy to be there. I would just be a little weary of giving this guy an 8-year deal, anything over $5.5 million. He is not. I don't think he's a guy that you look as a core piece. He's kind of that next wave over. Am I wrong here?
No, you're right. I mean, this year he was so good, and they talked about knowing they couldn't keep Kadri. That was pretty important to Joe Sakic, who's now moved on to president. That'll Ariel bring that up in a little bit, but Nichushkin in the playoffs, it's like, I think we have to keep this guy. That's how they're looking at it. But with the deal Makar took and the deal Landeskog took, and I'm sure that Nate Dogg's going to take a little bit of a break. I cannot see it being more than 5.5 because they're gonna say, listen, you want to be here, you want to be on this team. We just won. You have to take a little less, and the 8th year probably spreads it out a little bit, but. Wow, we're just getting hit with news right
big time.
Shit.
And what I was going to say is we got free agency, tons of talk later. I guess Kevin Weeks, we bring him on. He's got some scoop for us later. We're going to talk about the draft first. But Biz, we got to talk about this picture we tweeted out for the caption contest. You and your Phoenix days. Shane Doan to the left is laughing. Is Keith Yandel? Who's the other player on the wall that I
He's so Russian looking?
No, it was Brett McLean. And unfortunately, during his time with the Coyotes, he ended up getting a heart problem where he had to retire.
No.
Yeah, man, he was like on the ice and they had to revive him. It was one of the scariest things that the organization had ever been
practice
through.
Or something.
I'm not sure if it was a practice or a game, but I would say it was in Tucson where it happened. And unfortunately, he had to retire. I think he's doing great now in his personal life, and he ended up transitioning out of hockey well. But awesome teammate, awesome guy. He had great goal scoring ability around the net. Hell of a shot, and he was the guy in that picture. But that's when we used to play sewer ball before games. And we used to have a riot. That was actually, the picture was taken in Vancouver. So we were just fucking around and those are the times you remember and you miss as a player, just fucking around with the guys.
It looked like you were doing Cornholio from Beavis and Butthead with the way the shirt was over your head. Cornholio. All right, either way, we cleared up that mystery. But yeah, the NHL draft, man, very entertaining. The last few have been kind of boring, but the hometown Canadiens made sure to liven things up at the first draft in Montreal in 13 years. First, and what was a surprise to a lot of people, they took forward Juraj Slafkovsky out of Slovakia, first overall, made him the first Slovak to go number 1 overall. And then shortly after that, Gary Bettman comes out with a pair of trades. He announced that the Habs eventually landed 21-year-old Kirby Dach, who the Blackhawks took 3rd overall. Just 3 years ago. Bettman gave it a little showmanship. Thought that was pretty entertainment.
Oh, he was fucking hilarious. The whole crowd was amazing, just with the amount they were booing him. And then he's like, I have a trade to announce. And then they're like, boo. And he's like, no, I think you want to hear this one.
No, yeah. Hey, so I was with my brother-in-law watching, and he's not really a hockey fan. He's like, why are they booing this guy? I'm like, well, I think at this point, it's almost like they just boo him to boo him. I don't really know if it's truly like that much hatred towards him.
Oh, Montreal's out of the show by Gary. But they haven't won enough cups.
But they were relentless where they continued every time he's talking, they're booing him. And he said, geez, it continues. I go, well, now it's just any other arena, it probably would have ended after the original boo. But Montreal, they're just known to give everyone the business.
Buddy, and this is after they were handed first overall pick. We all know it should have been the fucking Coyotes, and they're still going to boo him. What a bunch of fucking babies in that crowd booing him as long as how could they hate that man that much after the success that organization has had since their existence?
All their success before he was commissioner, right? I mean, all right, when did he take over?
I think they won it in '93. I think that was on Bettman's watch, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
So, we'll have to look on his watch.
Actually, Grinelli's going to have to look into that to confirm, but that would be funny if all of them had been won since he took over. So no wonder they were fucking booing him.
I don't know what part of the draft it was, but at some point they started cheering someone, and Bettman's like, "Can I get some of that?" Like, did you hear him say that? He's like,
he was.
I think at one point he's like, "What the fuck?"
He must have hit the dab pen beforehand, lightened up a little bit.
Well, Biz, you mentioned at the beginning the Arizona Coyotes brass all dressed the exact same. I heard it was actually in honor of Harry Knuckles. It was the same uniform he wore, and you'll never see him. So that's pretty cool to dress up like him and dress like a seat guy. And I wanted to, shout out the Coyotes for thinking of a Harry Knuckles guy who'd been a part of their.
Well, they're moving on from Glendale. over to ASU. So I'm not sure if he'd be able to head and knuckles the guys. So beautiful homage to him and well represented at the draft. And guys, not only was there tons of showmanship, the fans booing, Gary being funny, but there was a shock. There was rumblings that they were not going to go with Shane Wright first overall, but to see the second pick go, the third pick go, and then finally Seattle lands him at 4. And on top of that, this could be a rumor and this could not be the case. And maybe you guys can confirm, but as Shane Wright walked on stage, he was staring down the Montreal Canadiens draft table multiple times. Yes or no, RA? Was that fabricated by the interwebs? Because I tend to put a lot of stock into Twitter and their reactions.
I believe he was. I know there was one reporter that said he was looking for the TV camera, which doesn't make any sense because why would he be fucking giving a dirty look to the camera? Everyone there said the Montreal table was right there, and that's what he was doing. I have a hard time thinking it was not. Why would he be giving the camera a dirty look? That makes no sense.
He had to be because the whole thing was he is smiling with Bettman and then just immediately turns on the mean face and then kind of gave him another one too. So he was pissed off. Now it was interesting because I felt like, now granted, there were rumors in the season Slavkovsky, excuse me. It was like, all right, well, maybe this guy could take over, but it was more the morning of the draft. You really saw rumblings coming out that like, it looks like it's going to be this guy. And I mean, I felt bad for Shane Wright, and it brought me right back to my draft. And it was the Jay Baumeister scenario in terms of, it was the same thing. Since they were 15 years old, both guys are the first overall picks in 3 years. It's like these guys are clear cut, the best player at their age group. And we got to our draft in 2002 and ended up being Rick Nash. And then you're like, all right, well, now it's Baumeister, and boom, Kari Lehtinen goes ahead of him. And what sucks for him, Baumeister at the time, who's laughing now, who cares? And for right now is like the cameras just, they don't leave that guy, right? So it's like, oh, this poor kid is supposed to be the best day of his life. And he's kind of sitting there and, just the anxiety and the feeling that he's going through of it's such a disappointment when in reality, it's such a special day. And what you've done is so amazing to get where you're at now. And in the end, it doesn't even really matter where you get drafted, right? Like the game goes now, dude. Like now it's what we see, but you just feel for a kid who's been preparing for something for that long to then be like sitting there. And it must've felt like it was fucking 4 hours, the 3 picks that went by.
Yeah. And like when you're a kid who's been, you're being talked about going first overall for probably 3-4 years, might be a bit of a shot to the ego to not, maybe a little bizarre that you're staring down the table. Now, the only reasonable explanation for that is maybe Canadiens brass pulled the old Kush Lash's old man where he's like, Jerry, you're our guy. My word's as strong as oak. And then completely cut, right? That's like the only explanation where they tell him you're going number 1. We got you, buddy. And then boom, he gets hit with that one. And that the fact that he had to wait for, 3 more picks to finally be called. But I look at it like this. Apparently the kid that the Canadiens drafted seems to be maybe the most NHL ready. And with the moves that they're making, they're probably looking to go from successful team that went to the Cup Finals to complete laughing stock of the league to now maybe got their names back in the mix. And then I think what you talked about it when we get to Weekesy later on was, who knows, maybe they go out and sign Klingberg too. So this Montreal Canadiens team could be ready to compete again with some of the guys that they've stocked up on. But and moving it over to Shane Wright, Bud, look at the young centerman this Seattle team has. This team could be a wagon in a few years with all the depth they have down the middle. They got Beniers, they got Shane Wright, and there's one other name I'm forgetting of, and I know Grelly's gonna hop in and throw it at me.
Grinelli just did text over. Gary Bettman was elected December 12th, 1992. He took office February 1st, 1993, a few months before the Canadiens won their last Stanley Cup.
There you go, Canadiens. What the fuck are you booing for? He fucking handed you a cup in his era. Come on, now.
I also did tweet out that I mean, and this is no offense to Shane Wright, not a bad looking kid by any means, but when I saw, I had never seen Slavkovsky's face. Right, you see him and lighting up the Olympics. You see he's a big monster scoring goals. They showed the kid in the crowd. I tweeted, that's what he fucking looks like. He's beautiful.
Yeah.
You can't if you're looking at the option and the kid's this good, and then you see he looks like that. It's like, all right, that's our guy. That's our pick. So I mean, I was super impressed with, I guess, his game and his looks. And now you see all the clips coming out from the rookie camp. So nowadays, and it didn't happen when we were drafted, Biz, but now you get drafted and boom, everyone goes right back to the city and they have some rookie camps. And I think it's not only just the rookies, it's maybe summer development camp. I don't know how it works. He's in the gym. He's breaking bicycles on the Wingate test. You see this kid?
Wow.
No.
It looked like it was in fast speed.
He is smashing the Wingate. For people who don't know, the VO2 test on the bike can be long. It's almost how long you can go. That's the Duncan Keith masterpiece in terms of he's got lungs like a Tour de France rider like Biz. Wingate is more a 15 to 20 second all-out sprint in terms of seeing how strong your legs are. The woman after the test looked at him like, holy shit, look at this guy. And then after they asked him, he said, I want to break everything in here. So this kid, he's a man on a mission, and he is a force to be reckoned with.
Wow. Yeah, Shane Wright did say, yes, I'll have a chip on my shoulder for sure about sliding down the fourth. So it definitely put a bird in his
buddy, no state taxes in Seattle. What the fuck is he complaining about?
He's gonna play. And he's gonna play like
he's gonna play next year. It's a guarantee, and he doesn't have to deal with the pressure of playing in Montreal. Because if he doesn't score in his first 5 games, they won't be asking him to be traded, for crying out loud. Now, Grinelli, I asked you who their depth at center was from the young guns. I mentioned Shane Wright. I mentioned Beniers. Was there another kid, or am I just making shit up?
I think you may just be making shit up.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah,
welcome back to the Spittin Chiclets podcast. Now, that 8-year deal has became firm as far as a number. Nichushkin, 6.125. So we weren't far off. I thought $6 million would have been, that's getting in the range. But hey, if they believe in him, I'm sure he'll be ready to shove it right up.
So 48.1 million dollars, 48.9 million. Whoo! How you doing, buddy? Good for him, right?
Good for him.
Holy shit!
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
What the hell is McKinnon going to get from them? Back to the draft quickly.
Yeah.
What a cool moment for the country of Slovakia to have the first and second pick is just so outstanding. And I think they later on, Montreal took another Slovak. They took another Slovak pretty high up in the draft. So that's pretty cool for Slafkovsky to have a guy that he knows well. And in terms of the pick by New Jersey, I saw that kid. He played World Juniors as I think a 16-year-old, like the way Spezza did, Biz and Baumeister, and as a real young guy. And I said, holy shit, he was a beast then. He had the full cage on for quite a while. I think he's been so young in some of the World Juniors he played in, but love his game. And I think that Jersey knew what they were doing in terms of understanding. We want to get some defensive help here, and we got a future of what they're looking at, number one guy.
We got to talk about Arizona pick, Maverick Lamoureux's parents. They were very excited about their son getting drafted. Just full on making out right after he got picked.
I got to be honest, guys. That fucking gave me the biggest half chub.
That's
got to be the biggest half chub.
Weekesy called the French Open.
Threw that tongue dart down his throat.
And I think it was it was his wife. Like he went to kiss her, and she's just like, I want.
What do you mean? No, that was a clean tongue dart, well executed, right into the makeout. Oh, that's
of course he had, of all fucking numbers too, that kid had 69 penalty minutes last year, and he had 4 goals and 20 assists. Like, what are the fucking odds? The guy whose parents make out, open tongue make out, and he has the 69 and the 420. And you know what? I'm not sure, Biz. They might have needed a little Roman swipes later that night, because what do you do when you want to last longer? Some of the nights you want to last longer, an awesome concert, maybe season 1 of Shores, you want them all to last a little bit longer. Well, Roman swipes want you to last longer in bed. 340% better in bed, that is. Roman swipes are the secret to longer lasting sex. Roman swipes are uniquely formulated to reduce overstimulation without eliminating sensation altogether. The more consistent you are with the swipes, the longer and better your sex will be. The swipes are super easy to use. You take out the swipe, you apply it, you let it dry 5 minutes, and then you enjoy longer lasting sex. So go to GetRoman.com/chiclets to get $10 off swipes when you choose a monthly plan. Maybe we can get a promo code for his parents one of these days, because that was pretty funny stuff. Gee, I know you want to.
Coyotes are going to be having key parties by the time you know it with this kid in the organization.
In dorms.
Yeah, so that was pretty funny. Also, Biz, I want to talk about this kid, Logan Cooley, that Arizona took at third. He's a Pittsburgh kid. A great story here. You know, Sid's Little Penguins was a program he started back, years ago. He wanted young kids who maybe couldn't afford equipment or just to make hockey equipment available. This program has helped about 14,000 kids already, and This kid is the highest drafted player ever from Pittsburgh, Logan Cooley. Just a great story. And it goes to show how much these programs work. I mean, we think of
he was one of the beneficiaries of getting some of this gear in order to kick off his hockey career. And we know how expensive it is for these parents, man. So shout out to Sid and the organization for starting that. And obviously it playing a part in the fact that this kid was drafted, the highest kid ever from Pittsburgh drafted.
Yeah, it's a great thing. Ironically, he was a Capitals and Ovechkin fan, so that's kind of ironic how it worked out. But like I said, these programs, I know Emil Francis did it in New York City years ago, and Joey Mullen and Brian Mullen and Nick Fattiu ended up getting the pros, and Eddie Shore did something similar in Boston. These programs are great, man. I mean, even if like one or two kids end up going pro, man, that's all worth it. Plus all the kids who might, get scholarships or just go out and have some fun. So these programs are good stuff. So when guys do it, it's awesome for the neighborhood, the community, and whatever. We got to talk about this Tampa pick. Isaac Howard, the Iceman. AKA
what a
Ivory.
legend.
Yeah, Avery. Right. He looked like Avery's stunt double when he comes strutting out. He's got the white suit looking like Disco Fever out there, the belt buckle, the mock turtleneck, and then he's got the quote of all quotes. I think I'm the best looking guy here, so I decided to be the best dressed too. I mean, confidence off the charts. I never seen that like this at the draft before.
I love the fact that not even joking, like 20 years ago, this kid would have been shunned. Somebody would have Tampa would have rescinded the draft pick. And now it's all about making waves, right? It's all about maybe getting a little viral clip. It's about some confidence, and it's actually showing that you're getting some more personalities in the game of hockey. So no doubt that kid's going to take some shit. You think he cares? And apparently he's got some serious game too. He flies and he can score. And so to see that quote, and I actually got home, I was watching the first 10 picks of the draft, then went out and got back for the last 2 picks in the first round. I was like, who is this kid? And please fill in Jaromir Jagr's line on Instagram after, all right, because that was the most beautiful part.
Yeah, he said, this kid is lucky it's not 1990. Big guys would change his face. And, of course, everyone's like, oh, settle down, boom, or blah, blah, blah. He's like, well, yeah, like you just said. I mean, if that kid did it 30-something years ago, he'd be looking at a punch in the
look
face.
at some of the fucking outfits that Jagr used to wear.
Well, that's the irony coming from him, Biz.
Oh, my goodness.
I know, but I think back then.
How about the hair he had on him, for crying out loud? That alone.
Biz almost got kicked off Pittsburgh for asking Mario to go to lunch. Imagine if he said he was the best looking guy in the draft.
Yeah, I wouldn't lie to his face, though. I just want to go to lunch with the guy. Yeah, that was definitely quite the outfit. And you got to have some big balls to show up to the draft like that. What would have been even tougher is if he would have slid outside the first round.
Oh, man, he would have had a different outfit.
Because then you got to wear it the same day or the next day, excuse me. So I will say, just overall, probably one of the most entertaining drafts since I can remember. So shout out to everybody in Montreal, the fans who made it so special, and also having it in a city where all the brass and scouts and everybody can enjoy themselves doing it. And that's pretty much all I got as far as draft. The only other name that popped up was a kid from Vancouver who everybody was excited to get from there. Some people had him as high as going 8th overall, and then they felt they got a steal there. And then the one other pick they made, Elias Pettersson.
Yeah, Spider-Man meme. Yeah, that's how crazy is that? Elias Pettersson, same name, but they said they never met each other. Well, again, that's been contradicted. I don't know if they have, but we got to talk about Bruce Boudreau before we move on. Big wrestling super fan. He's sitting there with the NHL Network set up, and they bring over Kevin Owens from the WWE. I'm not the biggest wrestling fan anymore. I guess this guy is huge. Boudreau lit up like a Christmas tree. Like he was like a 10-year-old kid, like fanboying out. It was absolutely hysterical watching that clip.
Is he from Montreal, or was WWE there?
I think he might be, if not from Montreal, a local guy. If he's from the area. But just funny to watch a guy his age still get that excited about wrestling. I mean, hey, it's great to have passions, but it's because it's Boudreau as well. And
he's from Montreal. That's correct.
Okay. A couple other quick notes, too.
If you find that third centerman that I was talking about, just text it on over.
Seattle Metropolitan some 90 years ago. It was just the second time that the top 2 picks were born outside of North America and came from the same country. Back in 2004, Ovi and Gino did the same thing. And this was interesting, too. From the first draft in 1963 up until 1984, every single draft was in Montreal, was either held in hotels, the league office, or at the Forum. So first 21 years, every draft was in Montreal. Yeah, oh God, yeah, the place must have been off the hook during those years. And also a couple local guys. We want to say congrats to defenseman Chris Romaine of Milton Academy. He was taken by Colorado in the 6th round. He's obviously a buddy of he's friends with our pal Jake. I got a chance to meet him at Jake's graduation party, Jake Tebow. He's going to Providence next year, so best of luck to Chris. And also congrats to Michael Callow of St. Sebastian in South Boston. Anaheim took him in the 5th round. He's going to Harvard next year, so congrats, Mike. Good luck on in the future. Hopefully things go well for you. Boys, like I said, we got a lot of free agency talk. I think we should probably bring in Weekesy right about now to get the folks.
Oh, yeah, Mr. Insider.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, of course, before we get to Weekesy, want to let you know that his interview was brought to you by our friends at Shopify. Shopify is the all-in-one commerce platform to start, run, and grow your business. Shopify gives entrepreneurs the resources once reserved for big businesses. So upstarts, startups, and established businesses alike can sell everywhere. Synchronize online and in-person sales and effortlessly stay informed. Shopify offers online retailers a suite of services, including payments, marketing, shipping, and customer engagement tools. Connect with your customers, drive sales, manage your day-to-day. Shopify instantly lets you accept all major payment methods, and Shopify has thousands of integrations and third-party apps from on-demand printing to accounting to advanced chatbots and beyond. So go to shopify.com/chiclets, all lowercase, for a free 14-day trial and get full access to Shopify's entire suite of features. Grow your business with Shopify today. Go to shopify.com/chiclets right now. And now we're going to send it over to our pal, Kevin Weeks. Well, it's always a blast to welcome this guy back to the show. After stopping pucks for 11 years in the NHL, our pal has become the scoop king of the NHL, breaking stories left and right, not to mention from who knows where. It's great to have you back on the Spittin Chiclets podcast, Kevin Weeks. How the hell are you, my friend?
I'm good, bro. Thank you so much, RA. Thanks for the kind intro. Fellas, how we living? How you doing? And to our audience, what's the good word? What's going on?
We're just waiting for scoops, man. Waiting for scoops from Weekesy.
Yes. I'll be peeping the phone as we're on. So if you see my sausage fingers going crazy, if we have anything breaking, I'll let you know. But I'm working on a couple of them right now. There's a ton going on.
When we first met, or I think it was you who really started telling me about post-career. And at that time, you were doing the late West Coast Hockey Night in Canada game, color-wise. And you were really helpful for me in terms of like getting into it after. And then you got into NHL Network and all these different spots. But in terms of the insider stuff, that's more recent. And I'm wondering, like, how does that even come about? I know you can't give away sources, but the whole time, did you kind of know I want to get into breaking more news and things like that?
You know what's crazy? Yeah, thank you for that, bro. And I do remember us talking so much when you were up in Edmonton. And congrats to you guys on what you've done post-playing career and putting it all together, URA and Grinnell and the team. You guys have just rocked. You guys are rocking it. So that's the first thing before we go any further. Give you guys your props for what you're doing. Hold on. What kind of a beverage is that, bro? Does that have pink Whitney in it or no?
No, this is iced coffee. Trust me. It's been a long day. I need one of those later.
All right.
The beginning of the podcast, people have already heard by now, is disgusting. So that's why it'll be pink Whitney later.
Okay, you got to sample the product because that looks like brown Whitney right now. So yeah, like seriously. All right, no. So basically, what happened was, like, I've been doing games, doing color, doing studio, doing whatever, hosting stuff, doing different things, which is all amazing, and I love all of it. It's all cool and it's all super fun. But as far as the breaking stuff, I was kind of sprinkling it in a little bit from time to time. But you guys know this, 99% of the stuff that we have, we don't even use. We don't even bring to the airwaves, right? Because a lot of that is our trust that we have with everybody in the business, the boys in the business, the ladies in the business, former teammates, guys we know, people we play junior with, against, the whole thing. So a lot of it is just, we always get so much information. It's just that we usually guard it and we don't really share hardly any of it. And what ended up happening was there was a few of those things that I had gotten, and hockey fans, you guys know, passionate sports fans in general, so I'm not going to limit it, but I'll say from our sport, hockey fans love news. They love transactions. They're like junkies for transactions. They look like Larry at Madison Square Garden when the music comes on, my guy Larry, in the third period. So basically, they love the news and they love the news cycle and the transaction stuff. So I started breaking a little bit here and there, and over time, I've kind of broken a little bit more and felt a little bit more comfortable with it. But our fans just have like an insatiable appetite for news and for different things happening. And you know this too. so too do the boys and girls that are playing. Like, everybody loves to know what's going on. The owners love to know what's going on. The coaches love to know what's going on. The trainers, you name it. So it's been a lot of fun.
How did the whole like the background thing come about? I know it was probably during the deadline, and then all of a sudden you were breaking them from doing your daily chores, and next thing you know, it just took on a mind of its own.
He was underwater in one day,
and I can't swim either. I told you guys that last time. Let me say this. Basically, what happened was, you guys know, the news world, the hockey world, nobody's waiting on us. Like, if you got to walk your dog, you guys have dogs, you got to walk them. You got to feed your pet turtle, you got to feed it. Like, which you guys have kids, you got to, you're going to do stuff with your kid. Nobody's waiting for you. It doesn't work like that. So basically what ended up happening was, I would get information and I'd have information that I could verify to be able to break. Well, just so happens I'm getting a fade. I'm in the barbershop. So I got to break it from the barbershop. It just so happens we were in the spa just up the street before me driving up to Bristol for trade deadline. Got to break it from the spa. I swear to God. So listen, we go into the spa and I get some news to break. Really nice lady, older Russian lady that owns a spa. And I'm like, ma'am, is it okay if I do news from here? And she looks at me. She's like, I go, are you like, so you don't mind? So then all of a sudden I start shooting it and she starts howling. But basically the concept really came from just being natural, number one. And number two, my wife has a really global marketing job and PR job. And she was just saying, she's like, this is who you are. You love having fun, own it, have fun with it, interact with the fans. And you guys see this based on all the great things you guys are doing. The fans don't like the filters in between. They like to feel like we're there with them, and we are. So that's a big part of it there on that biz.
Weekesy, we got to ask Johnny Gaudreau. I mean, he's the biggest name in the market. I think the longer it takes, the less likely he's going to go back to Calgary. I know he probably prefers the East or Northeast. What are you thinking he ends up? I'm guessing either Jersey or Carolina. I want to hear what you have to say.
Oh, what?
I love RA. RA with the RA.
An RA scoop.
I heard from somebody there's not a chicken dick's chance in hell he ends up with New Jersey.
Yeah, I'm not. Listen, this isn't a scoop thing. This is more like kind of looking at who has the money.
Yeah, I know who has the bread.
Northeast. Raleigh's not too far from his hometown, so I'm just kind of deducing on that level. But I want to hear what your take is.
All right. So first thing, I'll start in Calgs. I think you guys know my wife's family's from Alberta. They're all throughout Alberta. She grew up in Calgary the most part. So I've got all these Albertans in the family now, and where's he going? What's he doing? Have you heard anything? What's going on? Every 2 seconds, I'm like, bro, I'm not Johnny Gaudreau. I'm Johnny Goubreau. You know what I mean? Don't jack this up. Get it right. So anyway, as I'm looking at it, right, as I'm kind of looking at the landscape, we know the Flambés, the Flames can give him the 8 years, right? They can go the max. They can give him that extra year, spread the bread out. We know that he flourished. He's coming off of a monster career season. Calgary makes a lot of sense for him to stay there. I do know for a fact that, of course, he's partial to the Northeast, being a Jersey/Philly guy, playing at BC there in Beantown. Jersey has the money. The Devils do. They've got the cap space. Philly would be even closer to home because he's a South Jersey guy right by Philly. That's his childhood favorite team. But does Philly have the bread? I spoke to somebody in Philly's organization before we came on the show today, and they're like, we got money to move. I don't know if we have the money. I don't know if we have the money available to make it happen. So those would be my top two right now. I would then say this, though, just to throw a little wrinkle in things. To RA's point, what if Carolina? You've got guys coming off the books, right? You've got guys coming off the books right now. What if Carolina? They could take a run. I think he'd be fire on Carolina. Of all the teams that, if it's not Calgary, I think Carolina, he'd be fire, and they're a really good team.
Yeah, that might be the one piece they need to finally get themselves over the edge as well. So as of right now, you don't really have an answer for us because he hasn't made a decision, and it's hard to get those types of leaks anyway. Now
he's got options. He's got options. Totally.
Me and RA were going back and forth. Like, obviously we're not the insiders. We barely even know the rules. If free agency does come and go and that deadline passes, because Calgary had his rights before that, do they still have the opportunity to give him the 8 years beyond that deadline? Or at that point, do they become like everybody else and can only offer him 7 years?
Yeah, they'll become like everyone else and only offer him the 7 years. So that's the challenge for them. If they want to get this done sooner rather than later, it'll go a long way for them because they could spread it out over the 8 years. But the problem is clearly he hasn't come to his decision in terms of what he wants to do and where he wants to go. And he holds the cards right now. But that extra year, that's huge. That's huge to be able to spread it out. Otherwise, that means it's a steeper price for the other buyer. Let's say if it's Philly, it's a steeper price because they got to spread that money over 7. If it's Carolina, if it's Jersey, the same thing. We haven't talked about anybody else out west, though. But here's a question for you. Like, what about St. Louis if they move money out?
There's so many different options that would want him. That's why it's like you hear Philly and like Carolina. I guess that does make a lot of sense. I hadn't even thought about that. There's always that surprise team that comes in, though. And you think of St. Louis, it's like a game breaker like that. It's a great question, but I guarantee come noon or whenever it opens, there'll be some teams you never would have thought of that are offering him tickets.
Totally. And they're gonna have those sheets crispy. Those sheets. It's going to be a lot of sheets, as we say, boys. They're going to be pressed. They're going to be starched. They're going to be crispy.
It's laundered, clean money.
Totally. 100%.
I would assume if St. Louis works, they're getting rid of Tarasenko off the books because there has been a ton of rumblings for that.
Yeah, so
I don't necessarily think that he matches their system of play now. But when you could add a game changer like that, I think you kind of just you bring him in and then you figure out the rest later. Because they do play a pretty, a pretty aggressive game. They're heavy on the forecheck. But wow, I'd never even consider that. And when I close my eyes and try to picture him in a Blues uniform, it just does not work. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No,
wearing the blue note, I cannot.
No, here's what I could picture him doing. I can picture seeing him get all those sheets as in millions, and I could picture him racking up the points.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I could see. Them being an offensive driver there. Kyrou was money this year, mid 70 points. Robert Thomas was money. By the way, Tarasenko coming off a career year after multiple surgeries on his shoulder. He was awesome for them. But, it's been pretty well published that he'd like to be moved. So since it's been publicized, they're looking for a match. But here's another name with St. Louis. I'm told that my man Torrey Krug could be on the market too. Yep. So if Krug's on the market, who's by the way, how sick was that pairing with him and Justin Falk last year? They were unreal for the Blues last year. But
sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, but they have that young D-man Peronovich too, right?
Yeah.
So maybe they end up moving Krugy, but if they do move Krugy and if Tarasenko goes, what is that? That's 14 sheets right there that they have available, 14 million.
Biz, once I saw Johnny Hockey in Yeezys on a horse at Stampede, I could see him anywhere. I could see him in any uniform.
Totally. The Gucci belt.
Yeah,
Gucci belt and Yeezys.
And Biz, about your question that you were talking about.
So good.
Once free agency hits, they are officially not even a part of that team. So the 8 years has to be before.
Okay. Yep.
Before
prior to
free agency starts. Yeah.
Yep. It's prior to.
Even the casual fans who listen probably knew that. So that was just my
That's
idiot.
all right.
Yeah, I'm an idiot.
We're a man of the people.
Totally
another guy, Weekesy, and talk about the Blues. They saw him up close and personal, right? Is Nazem Kadri, and it's like I'm so happy for him. He gets his cup. He basically gives a giant fuck you to Toronto in the post celebration.
He totally did.
And at the same time, dealt with some horrible shit throughout the playoffs. So I'm pumped for him. And what are you hearing in terms of that? And talk about, he might be more wanted than Gaudreau.
Hey, those are great points by you there, Whit, because Nazem Kadri is in this NHL. He's kind of a unicorn player. There aren't too many players like Nazem Kadri that can throw up north of 70 points, that can fight and hold on and fight with anybody in the league at that size. It's not like he's a big man like Tom Wilson, that can get it on the forecheck, that can drive offense. As great as the Avs were this year, and as great as they are, Nate the Great McKinnon, or Skate McKinnon, the way he can fly. You've got Cale Makar, which is beyond fire. I don't know. Are we seeing some shades of a Bobby Orr / Brian Leetch 2.0 right now? Of course, in this game, in Cale Makar. Rantanen is money, an outstanding player. But from start to finish of the start of the season, their most consistent player was Nazem Kadri. He's unreal. So to me, if he gets to the marketplace, and I spoke with his agent, Darren Ferris, yesterday, who I've known a long time, if he gets to the marketplace and he doesn't resign in Colorado because of cap crunch for them, fellas, he's going to get so much bread and he's going to be such a good add to any team. I go back to saying, I'll tell you guys a story because the fans love stories on here. I remember we were at Yorkville back home in TO maybe like 8 summers ago. And I remember saying to him, we're on a rooftop bar and I'm like, yo, Naz, you're unreal disher. You got to shoot the pill more, man. Shoot the biscuit a little bit more. He's like, yeah, Weekesy, and oh yeah. He goes, you know what? He looked at me dead in the eye that night. He's like, I'm going to get paid. I'm like, really? I go, shoot the puck a lot more. You're going to get paid. He's like, I'm going to get paid. Fast forward to it being what it is. I think he got a bit of a raw deal in Toronto. I think there's people in the organization that didn't treat him well, and that subjected him to things that he didn't deserve to be subjected to. Same thing with some of the idiotic fans that we had this year that were saying really terrible things to him. What a year it's been. And he might do the Phil Kessel 2.0. He might bring the Stanley Cup down Yonge Street and really flash that in everybody's eyeballs back home in TO. I don't know. Like, he might, and he's earned that. So props to Naz. There's a lot of places I could see him for sure. But let me ask you guys a question. Let's say Johnny Hockey leaves, right, fellas? Say Johnny Hockey leaves, and he rides out on that horse out of Calgs from the Stampede, and he rides out of town. Would Nazem Kadri not be a perfect fit to go to Calgary?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like he's going
I feel like once you deal with the Canadian media, and especially the way that he has, I'd probably be looking to be his last option. But
I agree.
I mean, yeah.
On that note,
they gotta fill in that role, and that would be definitely be a guy who could do it, and a guy who's probably got one of the best 200-foot games in the league too.
And Daryl will be behind the bench, like loving it. You know what I mean?
Do you think that they can make it work in Colorado, or is that pretty much signed, sealed, and delivered that they won't be able to afford to bring him back? Because they ended up moving on past Darcy Kemper, who you'd imagine they probably would have had to pay in roughly around 6 times 6. That's probably what he's going to fetch in free agency. So you think with that money that they're not spending, I know that they are in talks with Nichushkin.
Yeah.
Is there just no way they can bring Naz back?
It'll be tight to do it, but they also have to look for the money for McKinnon down, Nate Dogg too, in the not too distant future, right? So that's the one challenge. Burakovsky comes off the books, who was really good for them. He's going to do well in free agency. Nichushkin, should they sign him, then they're going to have him on the books. I just mentioned Burakovsky being off the books. The fact that they get Georgiev at a lower number than they would have gotten, to your point, for Kemper, it does leave a little bit on the table. I think if Naz stays there, though, he's going to have to take less than he could get elsewhere. Does he want to stay there for something with a 7 or 7.5 on it? Or does he go to the market and get 8 or 9? That's the question.
Yeah, I guess the question is, does he want to go for that second cup or the money? I mean,
correct.
That's a huge factor.
Huge factor. And here's the one thing, guys, I can tell you too, and the fans, I'm going to tell you now, I spoke to Jared Bednar numerous times this year. He raved about Nazem Kadri, raved about him. Professionalism, hunger, commitment to the craft, wanting to be great, bulldog mentality, work ethic, all these great with the young players, how much he's matured off the ice too. Him and his wife have a young daughter. He just said he was a model citizen and a model player. And you know, Beds is real too. And Beds told me that numerous times, even right up before the Cup final. So that's a testament to Naz and his growth and becoming, you know, a bigger professional and an elite player in this league.
Hey, maybe he signs back with the Leafs. Who knows?
Hey, listen. Hey, Biz, how are you going to cliffhang everybody like that, Biz?
Can you imagine? That? Oh, my God.
But you know what? He's exactly what they need, though. To your point.
Ironically.
What they had.
Play goalie.
Yeah. He's what? Oh, shoot. You didn't have to go there, Ari. That's dicey.
Well, hey, let's
go there, Ari.
Let's go there. So apparently Jack Campbell and his camp and the Leafs are very far apart. It sounds like he's going to end up going to free agency. Yeah. Now, was that a shock to you? Because I thought he loved it there. And I thought that if there's anyone who's going to maybe take a hometown discount, given with the fact that they stuck with him through his tough times last year, that they would be able to lock him up. But where do you see him moving on to? And now I'm hearing that they're going to get Matt Murray. Now, based on his last few seasons, he even makes more money. How does that work?
There's a lot going on, fellas. Okay, let me preface this by saying this. All right. when you see what you like, you got to pounce on it. It's like the Valentine's Day dance in high school. You see somebody you're kind of interested in, you can't be on the wall just standing there.
Well, that was all right. He was left holding his dick on the wall.
Wow, you're telling me I used to go for it and get slapped.
But here's the thing. At least you move forward and you make it known, hey, I'm interested. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like some teams have been really conservative. There's only X amount of goalies. So when you're hanging back and you're a wallflower in the background, it makes it a little bit difficult. You got to go out and jump and get who you want to get. And all that to say, if you're the Leafs now, I've been saying this for 2 years since Freddie left. I've been saying John Gibson to the Leafs. John Gibson to the Leafs. It hasn't happened. He's the best goalie out there that I think is on a team that is a non-contending team, and he's an outstanding goalie. He's a 3-time All-Star. All right, they didn't do it. Cool. All right, then I was like, the Flower. Okay, well, it didn't happen with the Flower. Cool. All right, well, if you're not going to re-sign Jack Campbell, or you weren't sure if you're going to re-sign him, now it kind of goes down the road. So I was speaking to some people involved in the Matt Murray thing today to bring you up to speed, which is why I tweeted this earlier today. I'm told that he's been undergoing physicals and physical evaluation, like as in medical evaluations with the Leafs. He's spent a lot of his own money, Matt Murray, on his health and rehabilitating to get healthy to play for this upcoming season. The Leafs are doing the medical due diligence literally right up to right now. And I understand the framework of a deal is in place between the Leafs and Sens. But of course, all of this is predicated on his health and what the Leafs find out in terms of his health. If they feel comfortable with his health now and going forward, then I think the deal's on. And if they don't, the deal's off.
Let me get your opinion on something, though, because Matt Murray, 2-time Stanley Cup champion, but with the money and the injuries and the play, and Toronto, now Campbell was not the problem this year. It was not goaltending.
Campbell was nice. Campbell was nice this year. He was nice.
But like that's what you're gonna go with? Like, is that not crazy to you?
So here's the deal on that.
Is Matt Murray like that good? I don't know. It's just like you're a Stanley Cup. They're a legit Stanley Cup contender. It sounds crazy because they can't get out of the first round.
And we're suckers for a comeback story here on the podcast.
Oh, I'm not. I'm not rooting against him. It's just to me, it's like if I'm Dubas, I'm like I can't rely on this.
So here's the thing. I mentioned this on Twitter yesterday. So here's the thing, fellas. All roads point back up northern Ontario to Sault Ste. Marie.
Yeah. I knew that was going to be it.
Come on, boys.
Dubas is loyal like a dog.
Come on, boys.
No pun intended.
Kyle's grandpa, grandpa, I think Kyle Dubas's grandpa was a part of the Sioux, part of ownership, if I'm not mistaken. He was a stick boy. He ended up becoming the GM, Kyle Dubas, in the Sioux. At the time, he hired a former teammate of mine in Sheldon Keefe as a head coach. At the time, they had a goalie by the name of Matt Murray from Thunder Bay who was playing for them in the Sioux. And at the time, they traded for a guy by the name of Jack Campbell in the Sioux. How ironic is this? So now everything might become a full circle. I think a lot of it, Whit, is about familiarity. That's a big part of it because they know him. They've known him. They've seen him since he was a young kid in junior. But also, more than the sentimentality, they probably feel that they know him. They feel like they would be able to get the best out of him if he's healthy and a coach that believes in him and a new opportunity. You asked me how the deal would go down. Ottawa would have to retain probably 3 sheets to make that happen, probably $3 million to make it happen, is my understanding. But that's what they're working on. I'm not telling you that that's the deal's going to happen. I'm just telling you that a lot of the framework is agreed upon. So it now depends on Matt Murray's health and where the Leafs are and how comfortable they are with his health at this time.
You mentioned a little bit other drama in talking about that situation. It just seems like Fleury, the nicest goalie to ever play, always seems to be in the middle of it. So you have Cam Talbot's agent with some pretty fiery words after they re-signed him.
Yep.
And then Bill Guerin with an all-time response. What do you think happens there? Because I can't really see Minnesota moving on without those two guys as their starters to start the season. I like that 1-2 punch. Do they re-up Talbot right away, or do you think they made him ride it out?
He's signed.
Yeah,
correct.
He's got 1 year. He's got 1 year at 3.9. Like, do they come back with it?
Oh.
I see what you're saying. Biz. Do they come back with it? okay, let's set this in motion.
Because given the market is so thirsty for goaltenders, and now all of a sudden you got Fleury, and then you got Talbot with a guy making 3.9, he not only becomes a very valuable trade piece, and or do you end up re-upping him because he's such a good goalie?
And sorry, Weekesy, before you go, all right, do you want to read the quotes just for people who haven't?
Yeah.
Is that you know what I mean?
Yep, I read those earlier today.
Yeah,
Weekesy,
they were fiery.
Yeah, spicy.
Some people listening probably know what we talk about. So Ari will fill you in on the agent, and then Billy G's response.
All right, take your time with it too. Take your time. Give us some theatrics, Broadway style.
Yeah,
I'll be Billy Guerin already. You be the agent.
Okay, yeah. The agent had texted to Pierre LeBrun. We both stated our positions. Billy has a lot to think about. Billy G replied, I don't have shit to do. Cam Talbot's under control. George can say whatever the hell he wants. My team's set right now. And that's the way it goes. So we can have all the discussions we want. Cam's a member of our team. We really like Cam. All we're trying to do is win. All we're trying to do is have good, strong goaltending. And I think we have that. He said basically, I don't have shit to do was the crux of the quote, though.
I mean, this guy's no Alan Walsh, but, nonetheless, trying to stir things up.
That was spicy, boy. Go ahead, Wits. I see you ready.
No, I just think that it's crazy to think as an agent, and I know you're working for your client, but to think like he has no reason whatsoever to trade you. He does not have to give in to anything you want. He doesn't have to give in to anything that you think you need. He, as Billy Guerin, I'm saying, is like, I got two very good goalies. And in the league nowadays, I want that. So sorry, Cam. I know you want to be a full-time starter. I don't give a fuck. That's how I took it. Like, you have no right there. You're signed with the team, exactly how he said at the end.
No, those are good points, man. Here's the thing. So first of all, I love both these guys. I've been huge supporters of both of them for years. When everybody was shitting on Flower, I was always pumping the Flower. Even after Matt Murray rose to prominence, I was always going to bat for Flower. He's one of the all-time great goalies and people in this game. So let's start there. When Cam first came into the league, I got to know Cam in New York. Great dude as well. Guys, here's the thing. Guys love playing in front of both of those guys. Here's the other thing, boys. Cam was an all-star this year. He was an all-star. He was an all-star this year. He had an unreal year. Then they went out and got the Flower. Now, remember, Billy G and the Flower were together in Pittsburgh. Okay, so relationships, as I said earlier, they matter. I think it was a unique opportunity to get the Flower. I think the Flower is very comfortable in Mini, which is why he re-signed there. He liked a lot about being there, the way they treat him and his family. But for Cam, as a competitor, you want to play. You want that net, especially when you were carrying that team for the last year and a half and you're an all-star this year. And when you're looking out on the landscape like Christopher Columbus and you're just looking off the boat and you're like, okay, Washington needs a goalie. New York needs a goal. Toronto needs a goalie. Edmonton needs a goalie. I don't know if I want to go back to Edmonton in his case, but you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
He's looking through the periscope and he's like, okay, what do we got? There's opportunity there. So yes, if you're Billy G, you're like, I'm stacked. I love both my tendies. We might have the best tandem in the league. But to your point, Biz, at the same time, because the market's thirsty, you might be able to get a nice return if you move Talbot now. And they have Wallstedt, their goalie they drafted in the first round, the young Swedish kid a couple years ago. So Wallstedt's played pro in Sweden. He's an elite young goalie. Throw him in there and let him play 20 or 30 and let the Flower play the rest. That's the way I would do it. I would move Talbot.
Well, and Talbot's
return.
And he's never gotten that starting goalie payday. So if you're sharing the net the whole season, it's tough for other teams to maybe evaluate it. Maybe Flower ends up getting the starting role because he outcompetes him and he's playing more games. So tough way to start the year if you're looking to maybe secure that bag. And you're saying looking over the landscape, all these other guys who are probably even, maybe half as good as him, who are probably going to be making the same amount in free agency. So it should be interesting. And nonetheless, though, Minnie's got their goaltending situation.
Minnie's stacked. Listen, if you're Billy, you're sitting pocket aces right now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He's sitting pocket aces. The Wild, if you're a Wild fan out there in Eden Prairie or White Bear Lake or wherever else out there in Minnie, you got to be pumped right now knowing that that's your duo if you start the season that way.
Weekesy, I want to bring up a tweet you sent out on Monday about David Krejci here in Boston, a possibility of him coming back. What's the latest on that?
Well, I have a little bit of breaking news on that. Not that a deal has happened yet, but I'm told that working on a 1-year deal, likely a 1-year deal with Krejci. So it hasn't come through yet. That's the latest that I have from people that are closely involved in the situation. And obviously he was at the Sox game the other day. He was there for that big wedding this weekend, talking to my spies, my people in Beantown. They saw him. Of course, it was on Twitter too. But I think all signs point to him coming back if they can make it work on a 1-year deal.
Imagine getting some truth serum in him and hearing what he actually thinks of Bruce Cassidy now that he's coming back. He must have been like, nope, I'm done until he's gone. And then he's gone and we got Krejci back. It's insane.
Has that came out as to why he left? I mean, I'd imagine now that he's gone and now he's considering coming back, it's got to be part of the reason. Weekesy, no?
Yeah, that's kind of what I've heard from different players and different people around the league. And Butch Cassidy's an excellent coach. I think he did a really good job. And when he came up from the P Bruins up to the show, I think he did a really good job with that group. The biggest challenge, not only with him, but I think with a lot of coaches, and I've heard you guys say this before, players are different today, man. You know what I mean? It's not, it's not our time. It's not us being young guys. Like, I'm 47. I played with guys that are 62, 63, same age as my in-laws, like literally. You know what I mean? Like, seriously, like, it's so random. That's how old the league was. The league was ancient before. Old Spice, Brute 33, Aqua Velva, some guys are rocking.
Talking my language now.
CCRA? Always like, yeah, that's me right there, dog. But no, it's true. Like, that's how old the league was. You guys know. But now you guys are seeing these kids at BCBU. You're out there on the West Coast, Biz. You're seeing kids that played in Vancouver, whatever. Now they're in the league. You're seeing guys like Austin Matthews that you knew since he was a kid skating with you. Next thing you know, he's in the show lighting it. You know what I mean? Like, so you got to find a way to be able to relate to today's players. And I say this all the time. Players are the product. Mm-hmm. Fans are the customers, but players are the product. You got to be able to relate to today's players. That's something that's important for every coach.
Weekesy, back to Krejci now. Does he still have to clear waivers when he comes back? I know that they mentioned that last year. And why do they have that rule? If a guy's contract is up, he plays overseas. Why does he still have to clear waivers coming back to the NHL?
Yeah, the reentry waivers. Yeah. So I guess that's just, it's a means of being able to prevent teams from using that loophole.
Okay.
Right? Because think about that. Like, teams could use that loophole pretty regularly, if not. And you could have a guy that you kind of have, hey, man, I know you're over there in Sweden. You want to come back? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All of a sudden they come back over you, and there's no reentry. You can just slide them in as long as you can fit them into your cap. So I think it's more of a preventative measure that way. But the fact that he's a free agent now and he's completely free and he's not under contract from his club team across the pond, now he's a complete UFA again.
Okay.
That's my understanding.
So we saw the big deal. DeBrincat goes to Ottawa. That's got to make it a little easier for them with this Claude Giroux talk, right? I mean, you hear about that. You hear about Florida possibility. What are you hearing for the former captain of the Flyers?
I was just texting with G, man, Redbeard G the other day, and he's like, Redbeard G's like, Weekesy, I have no clue what I'm doing. I believe them too. It's the same thing with Johnny Hockey. Like, I think a lot of these guys are so overwhelmed by the opportunities that are out there now and how many options that they have, that, you know what I'm saying? It's like being in the show and going to the steakhouse. You got the Amex and you're like, do I want the crab? Do I want the filet, the Delmonico, the lobster? Like, what do I want? That's kind of how these guys are now.
Porterhouse.
Yeah, exactly. I want the ribeye. Through it.
Exactly. That's right. That's a like, holy point. Shit. I haven't even, because they all re-signed and it's just like, now I'm like, holy shit. I do think that the day, it sounds so stupid because you're being offered millions and millions of dollars, but I do think the day that UFA opens for a lot of people, it's hard because you're like, you're panicking. You're like, it's a win-win no matter what happens. But what if I make the wrong choice? What's going on here? It's just a difficult decision. So guys are probably, and they also know you're coming on Chiclets. You probably breaking news. They're not telling you shit right now.
But that's one of the things he said. He's like, you probably know before me. I'm like, well, help me know before you. Don't just say that. It's a nice compliment. It's flattering, but help a brother out here. Help me, help you, help me. So basically, he honestly was pretty just unsure of where he's going to go. And I think that's a big part of it too, is, can he go to Ottawa because he has an off-season home in Ottawa? Of course. how much bet now they get DeBrincat, whose money I can't believe Chicago traded him, but that's another combo. We'll get into that. We'll get into that later. Sorry for the fans that are in Chi-Town right now. That's a whole different flex.
Come on. They had a dynasty, for crying out loud.
They
could deal with a few years of
but that's your best young player.
And the way the dynasty ended, like that dynasty could have continued to at least be competing. Like, talk about just like, it's going back to 2006 when I came in the league and there was 4,000 people there and the games weren't on TV.
100%. People that, like, bro, honestly, it was a cave in there. You saw bats flying around the United Center. You saw the MJ statue out front, but then you got inside, you saw the bats flying around.
Weekesy. Adrian Aucoin told us he could yell. Man too. He could yell at his kids in the stands if they were misbehaving when he was on the bench.
What a good man Okie is too. That's
he's
funny.
The best.
Yeah,
well,
Okie's class.
hey, you're bringing up a defenseman there. I would say that the market for D-men is probably the thinnest we've seen in a long time. The only real name that jumps out to you is probably Klingberg. Any word on where maybe he ends up, and maybe some interest on other guys from the back end? But as I said, it's pretty thin. I could read off a few more names.
Manson's a nice
Manson's going to be nice. He's nice.
Leddy, Ben Sherratt, Alex Edler, Ian Cole. But I mean, like, these aren't some massive names that are really going to change things around.
Yeah, they're not necessarily franchise ones, but they're all good in their own way, especially Manson. I remember breaking the deal for him this past spring when he got traded, when Colorado traded for him. I literally came out there and broke it outside the building. I'm like, they're getting a nice piece in him. He can skate. He can handle the biscuit. He's tough. He's long. He's rangy, and he can fight. So I think between him and Klingberg, obviously Klingberg, the premier offensive defenseman of all those guys, to your point, where do I see him going? That's a great Klingberg specifically. It's a more complicated one because I see Manson potentially going back to Anaheim, excuse me. Yeah, wow. I could see him going back there. I know he loves it there. I know his wife's from there. She loves it there. So the family tie, plus the fact he played there his whole career, except for, this stint with Colorado. So that remains one to watch because I could see him going back there. As far, though, as Klingberg, great question. I don't know where I see a team that's thirsty enough to pay him maybe the 8.5 sheets that he wants and that he's earned by way of his production and his skill. I don't know who the fit is right now based on the market now. And here's why I'll tell you that. Remember, some teams, fellas, some teams aren't going to re-sign their own RFAs, their own restricted free agents. You know what I mean? And some teams might have to move on from some of them as a result too. So if you move on from some RFAs, that opens up some more cap dollars for you. So I'm curious to see what that could look like for him. But top of mind, and in terms of me, working the phones all the time, I've not heard one or even two concrete destinations for Klingberg quite yet.
I think that it's been long said Seattle would be a team that would have a ton of interest. And
I could see that.
My thing is, I think it will be a weaker team because the money he wants and he's going to get, I don't think you're paying that to a guy on a cup contending team who probably isn't really. Saying he's not top four might not be fair, but he's a straight up power play specialist. Yeah. And I don't know if you can afford to pay a guy that much on a really deep, good defense that already is going to have money tied up everywhere else. So I think it's going to be a weaker team that can spend money and looks to really have a guy just run the power play.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You're right. Because you start thinking about any of the, could he go to Washington? They don't need it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You start looking at some of those. Any
so much dough.
So much dough. And then he's going to want that 7 years, I'm sure, or he's going to push for a 7-year term. So I like your call about Seattle. That makes a lot of sense. They're trying to solidify their group. Maybe you pair him and Vince Dunn on that top PP unit. I could see that. I could definitely see that. Because aside from that, no, but it's true. It's aside from that. And I don't know if you guys top of mind, where else do you see him going? I don't see him going. Does he go to Montreal? Maybe. Maybe. As another one of those teams. One thing about Montreal that we know is they've had a long history of having European players in their team too, right? Like certainly since the late 80s, they've always had European players on their team. Montreal is kind of like a quasi-European vibe city here in North America. So that could be a fit for them. They're Seattle, just spitballing.
Yeah, and just going back to that John Gibson comment about him going over to the Leafs. Now, his agent did come out and completely shut that down, right?
Yeah, I saw that.
He said that he does not want to go play for the Toronto Maple Leafs. He's very happy with Anaheim right now.
Yep.
So, just you hearing that, do you believe it? Do you think that there's no way he ends up in TO?
I think so. Here's the one thing. I'm just looking down at my phone to see if there's any news. Here's the one thing. I said this last night. I was talking to a club owner, a team owner last night. Here's the one thing that I'll say about pro sports. You've got to know how to sell. You got to know how to recruit. And I'm not saying that any team doesn't. I just think a big part, and I was talking to an agent last night too, a big part of getting players is you got to have relationships, man. And you got to be able to close. Don't look at yourself, pardon me, as being an NHL outfit or an NHL organization. Look at yourself as being University of Michigan, BU, Oregon, any of these big schools, Alabama, Nick Saban, and being able to sell people on coming. Do you know what I'm saying? And not only players, but also scouts, trainers, everybody's all a huge part of it. You know, assistant coaches, you name it, goalie coaches. You got to be able to sell people. And I'm not suggesting that they weren't able to sell John Gibson, but just in general, in the overall thing, especially since free agency is coming on Wednesday in a couple of days, it's really important to be able to sell people to want to come to your organization. Make sure that you over deliver on how you treat them, how you treat the families when they're there, the friends when they're there. Sometimes there's some special needs. Sometimes there's some unique family situations. There's no salary cap on that part of it. That's all about hospitality and people skills 101. You know what I mean? So I think that the teams that do a really good job of that in any sport, that are able to get those free agents or entice trades, they're light years ahead of other clubs because of their ability to sell and to recruit, like they say in college sports.
Like the Coyotes. What do you got, Ari?
I want to bring up Andre Palat, Tampa Bay forward. I know everybody was assuming that they were, saving money to sign him, but it looks like he's going to go to market. I mean, does Tampa Bay keep this guy? He was an absolute stud for them, and not just the players this year. I mean, he's kind of been a low-key weapon for them for the last few years, but does he stay in Tampa?
Honestly, I had something on that last night, and I couldn't get it confirmed. And I've been trying all day. I was literally up till 5 a.m, which I'm not a real big sleeper, but
join the club.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I wake up roll over at like 10 something. I called a couple people close to it. Nothing to report. I was hey, what's going on? Anything on Palat? No, Weekesy. No, with nothing to confirm. Can't say no. So I haven't been able to get it updated, boys, but I had something on it last night, but so far today, from people that are close to the situation, I can't get any confirmation on it. But I love Palat because he's a Swiss Army knife player. Mm-hmm. And in the playoffs, he's even better than regular season. He's a gamer.
It seems to me, though, that he's kind of a little bit of a Bill Belichick style. Thank you so much for everything, but we're seeing you as on the back nine. I know it sounds crazy for what he's done, but if you look at what he's going to get and like how that team's going to have to really continue to compete moving forward with who's already getting the dough.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's somebody who you look is it's a depreciating asset. As crazy as it sounds, it's a business, and that might be the play there in terms of what he wants.
It could be. You're right. Like, and depending on term, right? So he can go to. Obviously, they're not going to do 8. I shouldn't speak for them, but I don't think they're going to do the 8 years with him.
No.
So do they do 3 or 4?
I think they would. I would guess 3 or 4, but he's probably like, I want 6.
He's like, I want 6 or 7. Somebody might pay me. Because we've been he's been to all those finals with that group. Hey, you know what? Just went to 3 straight cups. We won 2. Can somebody in the market give me a 7-year or give me a 6-year? But here's the one thing too, is unless he's joining a team that's a legit contender. So is he going to Washington? Washington has some space, especially with Backstrom being injured with the surgery. Tommy Wilson coming off a knee surgery. Could he go to Washington, right? I'm just looking at contending teams. Boston's going to have a ton of space with the injuries that they have at the start of the year. Could he go to Beantown? I don't know. I'm just looking at some of these potential teams that are really good clubs in the East, not limited to the East. Does Edmonton, if they can't get Evander Kane, do they sign Palat? Would he go to Edmonton? I don't know. But here's the one thing I know if I'm Palat, and I know this Tampa's sweet, boys. Tampa's sweet. The body feels nice every day. You're playing for Coop. The boys, you have an unreal group down there. Their owner's one of the best in sports. No state tax.
There we go. Yeah.
right?
Tampa is a great spot. Weeks, I want to circle back to Chicago, like you mentioned a few minutes ago. Like, I know there've been different GMs involved, but they're selling pots. They're having a fire sale right now. Jones is going into his first year of this 8-year deal, $9.5 million a year. What are they doing in Chicago right now? What the hell's going on with the Blackhawks?
I'm gonna do what the kids do. You know how kids do that? I don't know. I don't really know what they're doing there, to be honest. Okay, so if you're trying to strip it down and try to recoup as many assets as possible, like maybe you're going the route of what Arizona has, and Biz could speak to that more accurately because he's there. But the challenge is Chicago being the market that it is. And yes, Biz made the point earlier that, they won their 3 cups in this era. But the challenge is right now, I don't really know their identity. B, I don't really know what their plan is. And C, those 2 things make it a little bit confusing to me. Do you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, I'm confused by where they are. You've got the great Patrick Kane, going to go down as the best American-born player, at least I think to this point. You got Kaner, you got Taser, 2 legends. Statues are going to be out front of the United Center for them when it's over. Have you really communicated the plan to them? Because you remember when they traded Hagel at trade deadline, they're like, oh, we're going to talk to them. We're going to talk to them. Yeah. And you could tell by Taser's comments that they didn't even talk to him. He was blindsided by it. Kaner seemed blindsided by it. You heard Kaner's comments the other day when they traded the cat, who's his best friend, to Brinkett. So all that to say, fellas, I am very confused by what they're doing there. I'm hyper confused by what they're doing there. I have no idea what's going on in Chicago. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
If I'm a fan there, I'm just so furious. I know Biz says they had the success, but it shouldn't have ended this quickly and this abruptly. And when you look at, so Bowman is the one who gives Seth Jones the deal, and that's him. He's like, we got to make the playoffs. I'm trying to save my job here. New guy comes in. He's like, all right, well, we're completely rebuilding this, but how do you get rid of Seth Jones? Like, do you even want to? He didn't sign up for this, really. I mean, he's getting plenty of dough, so you have no say anymore. But then the Kane and Taves thing, it's so bizarre. But if Patrick Kane's playing for the Blackhawks come opening night, I will be beyond shocked. Beyond. Because how can he agree to do this and go through with this with he's still in his prime, but it's not going to last forever. I can't be wasting years like this unless he loves it and he's that loyal and he forever wants to be a Hawk. But shocking to me if that's the case.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. Listen, I can't speak for Kaner. I've spoken to him numerous times. I've gotten to know him really well. Meet his parents. He's a really good cat. Matured so much. Young father. He's got father now. He's got so much future Hall of Fame luck. I love Patty Kane. I love what he brings to the table, game to game, day to day. Bro, I've said this. Just across the Hudson as I look out the freaking window. Get him to NYC.
Oh, no, I say Buffalo. I say he's going to Sabres.
No, you say he's going back home to Buff? You say he's going back home to Buff? All the Sabres fans are in the Anchor Bar right now listening to this.
No, I just want them to give me hugs when we show up to Buffalo in 2 weeks for the
exactly.
Or next week. Excuse me.
Well, make sure you go to Anchor Bar when you're there. Make sure you go to Lenova. Everybody always cracks on me, but I love the Lenova Pizza and Wings there, or the Anchor Bar there, the original home of the Buffalo Wing. All that to say, it would be incredible if he gets traded back home. Incredible. Like that's stuff of Hollywood for sure.
That's Rumor Boy stuff, though. NYC, right. I'm with you. To see him on Broadway.
Him on Broadway, his name on the marquee out front of the Garden. You kidding me? All the taxis going nuts, blaring the horns, people walking up to the Garden, fans coming from everywhere, coming up under Penn Station, coming through the manhole, the sewer covers and everything. What? Like the Ninja Turtles? Bro, I think that'd be fire if Patty Kane gets traded, to the Rangers. But of course, they've got to move some money around, but they're not going to be re-signing Strome. But also remember, Patty Kane, Panarin, and Artie Anisimov were the best line in the National League when they were together in Chicago. So uniting him with Kaner, and Kaner generates offense like a center, even though he's a winger anyways. So I think he'd be sick here in New York.
Another name I want to bring up, we see Mike Greer was named GM of the San Jose Sharks, first black GM in NHL history. Kudos to him, a hell of an accomplishment. What do you think some of the ripple effects of that will be, like having a black GM in an office? What are some of the ripple effects you'll see with not only the Sharks, but maybe with other organizations going forward?
First of all, Whit, thank you so much for getting me Grizzy's number. First of all, so thank you for that. You were kind enough to share that. And, I've been speaking about it the last 3 days. It's almost, you can almost get emotional talking about it because it's so monumental for our sport. And the fact that he's the first one and he's made it happen. As I said, I've been saying, I'll say it again. It's like a man landing on the moon, really. It is, because we've never seen it in 105 years in NHL hockey. It seemed, even for me in interviewing for some of these positions, as I talked to you guys about last time, it seemed that, and seems that it's always, well, we're not sure. Well, maybe. Well, you might. Well, yeah. And in this case, you had somebody in Chris Drury, so props to Drew, because they're boys too from BU and Beantown. And Drew co-signed for him. Drew's like, yo, man, you're in our organization. I want you here in our organization with the Rangers. And of course, you had to know that Drew co-signed for him getting the job in San Jose. So props to Drew and his open-mindedness too. He's done an amazing job in New York, of course. And then for Grizzy to go there to San Jose and ultimately get the job, what I think it does is it kind of legitimizes, and not that it should, because obviously we have the hockey. We're not coming from auto parts and working at Pep Boys. So all of a sudden we're like, hey, can we run an NHL team? Hey, can we, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's been freaking, for me, I've been in the sport for 41 years. Like, I'm kind of a subject matter expert, right? And the same thing for you guys and for him. But it really legitimizes that for him to have earned this opportunity. And it gives a lot of credibility. And I think also for the people that might have been a little bit scared or a little bit unsure, or maybe even on the continuum, more over on the side of being closed-minded or racist, I think this is open-minded material for them to say, hey, man, San Jose did it. Mike Greer's a great guy. He's earned this. Amazing to see for the league. And maybe it's something that we can do as a franchise too. So I don't think he's the first. I don't know that he's going to be the last. But I hope with him opening that door, I hope that opens a door. Because here's the thing with you guys too. And I've told you guys this. With your pod, you guys don't know the reach that you have and the impact it has on people. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I've told you, Biz, I think I told you this in Miami. My father-in-law's got Pink Whitney and he has it in the freezer at our house in Miami. And he's from Fort Capel in Saskatchewan. They live in Calgary. Now when they're at our place in Miami or their place in Key Biscayne, they've got frozen Pink Whitney there. So you never know the impact of what you're doing and how that impacts other people. And I think it's the same thing with Grizzy, not only for people that look like us or on our part of the color wheel, but in general, it just opens possibilities to everybody and it opens hearts and minds. I think it's amazing.
That's awesome.
Well, Weekesy, you might be the next black person to be a GM in the NHL, and then you're going to be motherfucking all these insiders like yourself who are breaking trades before you can tell one of your guys.
He'll still be doing the videos, but just for his own team.
Exactly.
He'll have that hockey mascot behind him. It's not Weekesy.
Hey,
that's how he's going to that's how he's going to break it to the guy's agents and his own guys on his team.
That would be fire.
Pack your shit, just like Kami would say. Get the fuck out of here. So
that would be fire. That would be fire, though.
I know we touched on it earlier about how you started these videos. Is there a possibility that you break something on our podcast here today? Is there anything in your phone that has not been released to the public that you could share with our following?
Yeah, the closest one right now is the Krejci to Beantown. I'm told it looks like it's going to be a 1-year deal. That's what's on the table right now. It seems like it's close. They're working really hard on it to bring him back to Boston right now. As far as the Palat one, I'm working on something there, but nothing official on Palat right now.
Okay.
So those are the two hottest ones that I have in the hopper right now.
And I don't think.
And then, sorry, I mentioned this on Twitter, but I'll say it on here since I'm on with you guys and the crew. Doug Wilson Jr. The San Jose Sharks have moved on from Doug Wilson Jr., who was their director of scouting. They're in San Jose. So they've moved on. They've relieved him of his duties. And that's rather breaking. I think I put it out like an hour ago, but that's some off-ice news to report.
And, I mean, he does have his work cut out for him too, Grizzy, with the situation. That was odd, the way they waited so long. I mean, they knew they were bringing a new GM, but then they wait this long and then fire the coaches. And it's a place that needs some cleaning up, huh?
Yeah, it does need cleaning up from that standpoint. And look, man, I always say this, right? We're in the people business. I think a lot of times people forget that. We're not coal, we're not oil, we're not whatever. And in any business, there's an element of people, but especially in the world of sports, like this starts for kids and families at freaking novice, man, squirts, Pee Wee, Adam. You know what I mean? Like this isn't just out of left field. And even at the show level, you got to treat people properly. I'm a big proponent of that. I always said that, and I try to do that every day. I was raised that way, but we're in the people business, and sometimes people lose that touch, and some organizations lose that feel. And look, man, people talk. That's the hard part. You guys know the boys are always talking. You know what I mean? It's the same thing in ladies hockey. I hear it all the time. Then different ladies, when they come in and work with us, whether it's Hillary Knight, whether it's so-and-so, whether it's so-and-so, hey, what's going on? Hey, what's going on? Kendall Coyne, hey, what's going on? Casey, what's going on the U.S. women's team? What's that? You know what I mean? We all talk. That's how it goes. So you got to treat people properly. And I love your point. I think Guersey, I think he'll do a much better job of that with him having been in the league as long as he has.
All right. Any other names?
People who are listening to the pod won't understand what I'm talking about, but those masks behind you.
Yeah.
Are they all from former goalies?
Yeah.
The one on the right there.
Yeah,
it looks like a Ron Hextall or something.
Yeah, they're all former goalies. I've got that's the Bernie Perrant. I got Bunny Larocque, Ken Dryden, Wayne Thomas, New York, Gilles Gilbert, Wayne Thomas, Toronto, Kenny Dryden, Gilles Grattant down behind me, and some more are on order. So we're just getting it set up right now. But I grew up. It's cool because this part of our basement, like where I'm at, is kind of like main rec room over here, and then some gym equipment on the left side, and then the other gym and other stuff back that way. But the cool part about it is when I see these every day, it just kind of reminds me of where I've come from, and where I started, and just like the hope and the dream and dreaming big and wanting to do something big and play in the show and make the show and live my dream and help my family and take my family to the next level and all those amazing things and have fun and do your life's work. So I think that's a big part of it for the pod, boys, where for a lot of our listeners that are out there and a lot of the amazing fans, as I told you guys, there's people that are going to be tuned into this in Rome, in Athens, Greece, in Athens, Georgia, Minnie, Canmore, whatever, BC, Dallas, Arizona, you name it, right? Like people, and I'm not saying this to be whatever, there's probably some hockey fans that are in the Ukraine that are probably even listening to this. You know what I'm saying? Like to put it in perspective. So I never like to lose sight of those things. And, the journey and where you've come from, everything to me, I echo Gretz. Everything that my family and I have, I owe to the game. Do you know what I'm saying? So I always try to keep that perspective and be real about that. So anytime I see these, it's always just like, yeah, that's the kid that was collecting hockey cards and playing road hockey and just dreaming of doing big things, especially even though you didn't look like a lot of the guys that were playing. But the dream was so big and I had the great support that really pushed me to go beyond that. That's awesome. So that's a big part of it.
Well said, Weekesy.
Thanks, boys. Yeah. Thank you.
And we appreciate you coming on as always. Yeah. Keep breaking news, and we'll be watching out for these free agent news breaking stories coming from you in a barber chair or on the subway. Who knows where it's coming next?
Fixing the furnace down the basement.
If I fix a furnace in the basement, the house is going to burn down. You better edit that out of the pod. Our insurance company is going to be like, who's this Muppet with 4 left hands trying to fix this thing? Thanks, boys. I appreciate you, man.
Always a pleasure, Weekesy. Our pleasure, buddy.
Love you, boys. Keep up the great work, man. You guys are crushing.
Huge thanks to Weekesy for joining us, man. He's the best. Love having him on. Great guy to chat with. He's been crushing it with the breaking stories and everything. I want to let you know that his interview is also brought to you by our friends at Labatt Blue. There's a little bit of Canadian kindness in every sip of Labatt Blue Light. How did it get in there? They're Canadian. That's how. You spread the love yourself by sharing a Labatt. When you share a Labatt, you're not just sharing a beer. You're sharing an experience that'll pair with anything from hockey to a hoedown. So next time you're watching a game with your buds, be sure you share a Labatt because you might not root for the same team, but you can all enjoy a Labatt Blue Light together. Barstool is working with Labatt all year, and we have some exciting content coming up, so grab a Blue Light and enjoy. Labatt, the pristine Canadian Pilsner. Share a Labatt. Don't have to twist my arm to share a Labatt. Stuff is awesome. If you're not drinking it, you should get on it. Dynamite beer. All right, we talked to Weekesy about a bunch of free agent stuff, what's going on. We're going to circle back to the Blackhawks. We did mention the Kirby dog. I don't think we really got into the DeBrincat stuff too much. They did send their sniper, Alex DeBrincat, to Ottawa for Ottawa's first this year, which was number 7 overall, second rounder, and the third rounder in 2024. I mean, DeBrincat, he's 24 years old, heading into the final year of his deal that carries a $6.4 million cap with a $9 million salary. He's going to be restricted after that, but assuming he re-ups in Ottawa, boys, I'll go to you first, Whit. Did the Sens swindle the Hawks here or what on this deal?
It seems so. I just the years of 241 goal seasons and like the ability he has to score and create, and I mean, what they gave up in picks, right? You just hope you would easily trade those to maybe get one player in the draft, right? If you had those 3 picks, you're hoping for maybe a player like DeBrincat. And now it's just like Chicago is so confusing. I know we just talked about it with Weekesy, but it's like, how pissed off are you if you're a fan of that team, if you're on that team and a core player, and now you lose a guy who, granted, obviously they either didn't want to re-sign him, couldn't re-sign him. They're looking at the organization, and now you see, all right, well, this is full blown, blow it up, awful asset management leading up to all of this, and now you just lose a guy who's really kind of become one of the best goal scorers. I mean, I guess you could say in the league. I mean, he's not the greatest goal scorer in the league, but when you think of guys who can just put it in the net, Ottawa stole him. They just grabbed him from Chicago. And when I saw the trade, I wondered if there'd be players in return. You just see the picks. You're like, just stuck shaking your head the same way Weekesy talked about it. What do you got?
I'm like, maybe Patrick Kane was considering ending his career as a Chicago Blackhawk, but they're just trying to get rid of any type of player that he might want to play with to piss him off to eventually waive his no move clause.
Wow,
100%.
That's not a bad theory at all.
We're going to get so fucking bad that you don't want to play here, and you're going to waive your no move clause so they can get a return for him and Taves, and they can really start from scratch. Now, you guys mentioned it, but it wasn't really the guys in charge who did it. Was the move to get Seth Jones over. That's the last one that's going to hurt you, and I have a hard time believing that they're going to get rid of that contract. Because if I'm not mistaken, it wasn't the current GM who signed him to that deal, was it?
It was Bowman.
No, it was Stan Bowman.
I feel like everyone's really focusing on Chicago here, while Ottawa's kind of building a sneaky good roster here. I mean, Brady Tkachuk, Tim Stützle, Josh Norris, Alex DeBrincat, Drake Batherson, Jake Sanderson, Thomas Chabot. Like they're building something here.
Absolutely, they
just got to find a goaltender.
Yeah,
RA's going to bet him to win the cup again.
Fuck yeah, I had issues. The Hawks also acquired goalie Peter Mrazek and Toronto's first pick this year, number 25 overall, for Chicago's second round pick. The Leafs shed $3.8 million in salary. They had to give up their first, but it was only really a 13 pick difference. It was more or less a salary dump. Mrazek right now the only signed goalie on the Chicago roster. He's got 2 more years left at $3.8 million. So, like I said, who knows what this team is doing? We just talked to Weekesy about it. But moving right along here, we're going to go over to Philadelphia. They traded for Tony DeAngelo's rights from Carolina, and then they signed the defenseman to a 2-year, $10 million deal. He will be unrestricted when the deal expires. Now, Philly got a 7th back with Tony DeAngelo, but they also gave up a 4th this year, a 3rd next year, and a 2nd the following year. Now, he was going to be a restricted free agent, Biz, but did Philly still pay too much just for the negotiating?
Big time.
Or what?
And in the fact that they only locked him in for 2 years, like I'll be honest, guys, I thought after the season he had, despite maybe the issues that have gone on in the past, that he was going to get a long-term deal, which with his play, I think he deserved it. But maybe with what happened, he doesn't have much leverage. But for Philly to just go out and give up those picks in order to sign him when not waiting, I don't know. Maybe they thought that they didn't want to, like you would think that DeAngelo would know if he would have had better options, I guess, by now in free agency, but maybe not enough people were calling and they want to stay away from him where that was the only thing that he could muster up was $10 million over 2 years. Now you got to be shocked at the amount that he got.
Yeah, I did. But I remember at one point in the year, I think you did mention about a huge payday and a long-term deal he'd get. And you can look it up. I think I said, I don't think so. And there's just a kind of, there's a thought about him around the league where it's hard to commit really long-term to him. Dude, it has nothing to do with his play. What a season, dude. He had 51 points in 60 games or 64 games, whatever. He was so good with the puck offensively. He had a great playoff too. And I just think that after what he's been through, teams aren't going to commit long-term. So it sucks for him to have to prove himself year after year, which you do have to do to play in the NHL and earn your money. But I kind of saw this coming. It's like, I do think though that Kevin Hayes brought up how great of a teammate he is. And you ask a lot of guys that have played with him, they love him. And so I think then obviously there was a reporter who said, well, don't forget Kevin Hayes follows Barstool Sports. It's like, all right, here we go. And then she deactivated her account, of course. I won't even say her name, absolute clown. But people love him in the room, and he plays with passion, and that's why it's one thing. Like, how's he going to fit in with Torts? I bet you Torts loves him. I'm sure there'll be times Torts gets furious, right, when he's screaming at the ref and his temper takes over on the ice occasionally, but he competes. So when you look at a guy that Torts wants on his team, he's a competitor. He's great with the puck, can run the power play, and now you're seeing Philly try to turn things around, and that's a guy who will at least bring energy to every single night.
Yeah, plus he can kill it there for 2 years, and then he's unrestricted, man. If he did in Philly this next 2 years, when he just did in Carolina, man, he'd be looking at it.
Then he's getting an absolute payday, and then I think he'll only be 28 too. So, and if
he kind of keeps his nose clean, behaves, I think he'll get further away from those issues or reputation or whatever you want to call it. I mean, I think he like the first one back in juniors. Yeah, that was a long time ago. He seems to have made amends or have remorse about it, and. He was a good citizen in Carolina. I know there were concerns when he got there among some of the fan base, but the guys he's behaved since then. So you can't fucking crucify the guy forever. He's been well behaved, and if he continues to do that, he'll make a lot more money. All right, moving to Colorado. We did talk about Georgiev with Weekesy. He actually signed a 3-year, $10.2 million deal, $3.4 million a year. It's a nice price for Colorado. They did trade the Rangers their 3rd and 5th round picks this year and a 3rd next year for the exclusive negotiating rights. But it seems like Colorado, they're just like, they didn't really have any problems letting Kemper go, Biz, huh? They just like, all right, thanks for the cup, but, we think we can adequately replace you.
I think with the way that they defend and they drive offense, that if you get above average goaltending, they have another chance to win another cup next year and probably for more years to follow. So with what Francouz was able to do when Kemper did go down in playoffs, maybe that allowed him to just understand that, hey, we can move on from this guy. We can lock in the guys up front who can keep driving and we can move on and still compete. So I was surprised. I thought that they were going to try to get something done, but with where Kemper's at, and I'm sure where his agent knows the market is, I think he's like, hey, you got your cup. You did a hell of a job. You battled through the eye injury. Now let's go get you some generational wealth, which as you saw during the interview with Weekesy, like it's slim pickings when it comes to goaltending. Mm-hmm. It is slim pickings. And if I'm Darcy Kemper, where do you think the landing spot is, guys? I know that Washington has a very small window here to win another Stanley Cup. They just didn't have the goaltending that they needed. And who else, Whit? Who do you have in your mind?
I would love to know what Edmonton would be willing to offer Darcy Kemper. And now money's obviously an issue in Edmonton up against the cap at times, but I mean, they need a goalie, dude. Right. I mean, you're legit calling him tomorrow and just saying like, this is what we have. This is what we need.
So considering we're on to Edmonton, a very similar situation with that Philly just had with locking in Tony DeAngelo, where I'm hearing Evander Kane 3 years at 4.25 out of Edmonton.
That was their offer, right?
That was their offer. And, with maybe with some of the things that have gone on in the past, there's another superstar style player that can't really look at longevity as an option unless somebody else comes in and over the top. And with goaltending, Jack Campbell's name did pop up for Edmonton. Obviously, he wants a pay raise that based on what he was making the last couple of years, but there's no way he'd be near what Darcy Kemper's making.
Who would you rather?
Well, I would rather have Darcy Kemper, but if you're talking about what they're probably potentially going to earn, I'd rather have Jack Campbell.
You think that Kemper is going to make that much more than Campbell?
I think that Jack Campbell would get a deal about 4 years times $4 million. And I think that Darcy Kemper is probably looking at 6 years times 6.
Okay.
So yes,
okay.
I think
I know what you're saying. I think in terms of money, then if that would be the contract scenario, I'd rather Edmonton get Campbell.
Yeah, and with Edmonton, you have a lot of areas to address where you're talking about Colorado. Yeah, you just got to find a competent goaltender. But Edmonton, you need another defenseman. You got to make sure you lock in probably a couple more forwards, and of course a goaltender. So you can't really snap a lot of money around to one position. You got to be smart about how you handle things. So let's see how Ken Holland's able to weasel his way through this free agency, because guys, I think this is moving forward. This is the most pivotal year as far as McDavid and Draisaitl. If they take a step back and don't reach to where they got this year, the conference finals, at some point you got to think these guys want to move on and go win somewhere else. No,
if they were to make another run, if you lost in the second round, like in a bad way, if they got to the conference finals again, that'd be legit. I know what you're saying, though. It's like, all right, enough. If they were to ever take a step back and then they're like fighting to get into playoffs, then you're looking at like, holy shit, will this ever change?
Well, you're losing your best goal scorer based on games played and what he was able to accomplish. You're losing Duncan Keith because he just announced his retirement, and the goaltending is still a question mark. So I think that there's a lot of issues to address in Edmonton, despite how much quote unquote.
At least they have some money though, with Cassian gone and Keith retirement, there is some money there. And the Kane situation is just so different because having this success there, I think any other time a guy's really looking, all right, I'll play with Connor McDavid, I'm playing with Leon, but the financial problems, he literally needs to take the highest amount of money he gets. Is that crazy to say? Like, I'm assuming he's at the point where it's like, I need to make money back. So whoever gives me the most, I'm going there.
You mentioned the Cassian deal. They sent him to Arizona for picks, the 31-year-old Cassian. He's still got 2 more years left at a $3.2 million cap hit. So, that's significant dough. And while you mentioned Duncan Keith, you might as well give him his props right now where he's retiring. So congrats to Edmonton defenseman Duncan Keith, 3 cups, 2 Norris trophies, and a Conn Smythe. He had a year left at $5.5 million on the table. I mean, that's a significant amount of money to leave there. But, do you think what he like we said before, the guy's a legend, an awesome player, but do you think it was the case of his play kind of slipping below his own standards and just like maybe doesn't feel like he wants that money if he's not playing to that level? Or am I reading too much?
No, I don't even think it's fair. Actually, I feel as a former player to even try to go into like why he decided it was time. I do really want to talk to him again because I think we chatted with him the time we interviewed him about him coming on after retirement and how much more he'd maybe be willing to chat about. And I might be misremembering that, but I don't want to say because maybe his play took a step back over the last couple of years, but he still played big minutes and he was huge for the locker room in terms of they did get to the conference finals. They got work, but I mean, I can't imagine that he didn't give some serious wisdom to these guys on what it takes to win, and they weren't able to get it done. But at least him being there that year, you saw a professional who's going to be in the Hall of Fame, who's won 3 cups and can at least show a team what it takes day in, day out throughout the long grind of 82 games. So you got to shout him out. I mean, the career he had is so remarkable, and looking at a guy who was always undersized and wasn't given enough credit when he was younger. He went to Michigan State quick, then he goes to WHL and boom, plays a little bit in the AHL, gets to the NHL. I was like, holy shit, I don't even think the Blackhawks knew what they were getting when they drafted him. I think it was second round. I got drafted in front of Duncan Keith. You want to fucking throw up, dude? So, congratulations. I mean, that's a first ballot Hall of Famer, and to see him shut it down, it's like, wow, you realize everything comes to an end because the run he had, it looked like it'd never end.
And the Oilers free up $5.5 million there. But interestingly, Chicago gets whacked for that cap recapture penalty because they actually signed the deal. God. So they're going to get whacked $5.5 million this year, and then just under $2 million next year. But given the state of the Blackhawks right now, that might actually help them get to the salary cap floor. So I don't think they're crying in their beer about it there. Just it's crazy how much that franchise is.
It's going to be nuts.
They probably told them that they'd fucking pay him on the side just to get it up.
It's going to be nuts to see Chicago, just United Center, just empty.
Yeah.
It's actually going. I know I said this with Weekesy, like playing there was something else. It was like being in the AHL again in a great big old barn, and now it's heading back that way, and it's just wild how it all ended so quickly.
They got to do about 4 jersey retirements next year just to make sure they sell enough tickets.
Oh yeah, or make like 9 different jerseys. Like, we're wearing our alternate home red tonight. Please come on down. We'll give you some free popcorn and a Duncan Keith bobblehead in an Oilers jersey.
They'd pre-ordered them for next year. They're like, you guys want this?
Shit. No, all the DeBrincat bobbleheads are just like in the river now.
The Detroit Red Wings went out and got themselves another goalie when Stevie Y sent a 3rd-round pick to the Blues for Ville Husso, then extended him with a 3-year deal worth just over $14 million. Comes out to under a little $5 million a year. He'll join Alex Nedeljkovic in the crease. Considering the lack of goalies available in the year he had last year, did the price seem kind of low to you with that? That's all.
That was a fucking steal.
Steal by Stevie Y. And the way it works out perfectly is, I'm sorry, all right, what is Nedeljkovic? He's got 2 more years?
I believe so, yeah.
So like, Biz, you saw the monster in Edmonton during your amazing pregame speech. It all sets up for when he's going to be ready to probably take over the net. So, I mean, Husso was so good this year that you wonder. I mean, St. Louis is probably bummed to see him go, and they have Binnington signed already, but what a great bargain. And we actually thought Nedeljkovic was such a steal by Yzerman last offseason, and then now he brings in Husso. So just sick work by Detroit, who Grinelli talks about Ottawa building something. Detroit, look out these next year or two. I don't know about this year, but we talked to Sider, and he mentioned, here we go.
Yeah, actually, Nedeljkovic, this is the last year of the 2-year deal he signed, so he's UFA after this year. So, also, too, the Wings brought in Bob Bugner as an associate coach to Derek Lalonde and Alex Westland as their goaltending coach. So, good luck to those guys. The Devils acquired goalie Vitek Vanacek and a 2nd rounder from the Caps for 2nd and 3rd round picks. The pending RFA made just over $700,000 last year. As of press time, I don't believe he had signed with them yet, but you can assume he'll be joining Mackenzie Blackwood in the crease there. Let's see, Nashville, they sent pending restricted free agent Luke Kunin to San Jose for forward John Leonard in a 3rd rounder at 23. Kunin made $2.3 million the last couple of years. Leonard's going to be an RFA, and he got 15 points in 58 games played over the last 2 seasons. Now, of course, the Preds needed to save some dough to keep one of their big guns, and they were able to do just that because Philip Forsberg and the Preds were able to hammer out a deal that'll keep him in Smashville. He was on his bachelor party this weekend, so he couldn't do the official signing, but it's an 8-year, $68 million deal, $8.5 million cap hit. I know there was some talk about them not be able to get to a middle point, but apparently they did. Biz, is this about where you expected Forsberg to come in at 8.5 mil?
Yeah, it's where I expected it. I think that it's high, but you know, that's what the market, and that's where it says he is.
So good last year, I know.
Yeah, he had such a big year at the right time, and I tell you what, that team with what they've done, they're going to have a chance to compete for a few more years here. So yeah, I'm happy for the guy, and I know that they wanted to keep the guy who's been there most of his career. Did he play at all in Wash, or did they get rid of him before? Okay, so he got there and he's played his whole career there. So
yeah.
I'm happy that they got to keep him. I just think that the price was a little bit high.
I was surprised that, like, once they didn't sign him, and then it's like, all right, we're going to trade him at the deadline. Then they didn't trade him. I didn't think he was definitely gone, but for the deal to end up being that, I almost think that Nashville was lowballing him early and then finally agreed to pay him, because this is probably what he was looking for the entire time, and they wouldn't re-sign him during the season when they were talking about trying to get this done before the deadline. So maybe a change of heart by Nashville ownership, maybe a change of heart by Forsberg in terms of not wanting to test the market. I mean, I've said this a long time. It's like, playing in Nashville is top notch. Everyone asks me, where would you want to play if you could ever play somewhere in the NHL? Nashville's in my top 5. The city is amazing. The fans are out unreal. The team's consistent every single season. And so I think when you think about testing UFA and actually having the chance to move, it's like, holy shit, do I want to leave here though? Great weather all year round. So good for the Preds fans to not lose a guy who's been there his entire career. And Biz, you're right. I mean, it is a lot because he can go hot and cold, but just coming off this past season, it was just a no-brainer. He's going to get
between him, Duchesne, and Johansson, or is it Johansson?
Johansson, I call him.
Johansson. That's just a lot of money up front, right? So luckily they got some young studs in that roster who can contribute, not making as much, but those paydays are going to come pretty soon. You saw the one rookie they had. Fuck, guys, my brain is legit shutting down.
Taylor Janot.
And but hey, they got McDonough now.
My brain is legit shutting down.
It's shutting down.
It's like when your phone goes slow right before it's gonna die. You know how the phone starts like you can't send a text, boom, dead. Biz right now is just blinking on red.
Don't ask me another goddamn thing. I'm just here to hang out.
All right, the Wet Dogs are man. What's up, Biz?
Yeah. Oh, nothing.
All right, they're gonna say something else. Say, how long has it been since your last haircut? Obviously, not too long for myself here. Well, it might be time to head to Sport Clips. They've just developed a brand new, super relaxing signature scent on their perfectly steamed hot towel. It's been formulated specifically to bring the relaxation of the MVP haircut experience up to another level. It's something that you have to smell to believe. Make sure when you go in there, you ask your stylist for the MVP experience. Not only will you get to try that new scent, but you'll get the 7-point massaging shampoo as well. Smell like an MVP. Go to Sport Clips, the pros and men's hair. Get that salad taken care of. Look good. Take it down the nub like myself, Biz. I know we talked about many with Weekesy. Just give a couple numbers. They were able to bring the file back. It was a 2-year, $7 million deal. It comes out to $3.5 million. So just to get that numbers up, get those numbers out to you. Also, let's see, they extended defenseman Jacob Middleton with a 3-year, $7.35 million deal, just under $2.5 million a year. That was a nice little pickup they made last year. This kid kind of come out of nowhere, man. Now he's making himself some dough. Nice little story there.
I love his muzzy. Funny bastard with the no teeth and stuff. I'd like to get him on the pod to chat with him.
Grinelli, DM him.
And also too, the Kaprizov stuff. We didn't bring this up with Weekesy. According to Mike Russo, by the way, terrific reporter, he gets all the scoops with this stuff. Apparently, Kaprizov twice tried to return to the United States, but he couldn't clear into customs. First, he tried to leave from Dubai. Then I guess he tried to go through the Caribbean. And Russo seems to think it's because he doesn't currently have a work visa. Last year, they got a waiver for these guys, so I guess it's a problem for him this year. And then as for the military stuff about him supposedly having a fake ID, again, you don't know what to believe when it's coming from that portion of the world. Nothing's been by that I mean Russia. Nothing's been confirmed. Russo's source said that he's not concerned that Kaprizov could be forced to stay in Russia unless it came from one guy, the asshole up top. I'm talking about Putin. He doesn't seem to think there's going to be a problem unless Putin decides to, fuck with these guys, which certainly isn't out of the realm of possibility because he's a psychopath. But also, you don't know what to believe. So right now, Kaprizov, he's going to get back in the country, but it seems to be more of a work visa thing. Just weird shit, weird stories, and we'll keep our eye on it. But when you're dealing with Russia,
you mentioned that they all got a waiver last year. It was just because everything at the embassy was backed up and they couldn't get them. So the league decided, hey, everybody from overseas who hasn't gotten clearance yet, they can come over here this year until they get it figured out next year when things calm down and life is back to normal. So that's pretty much why he's in this predicament. Did you mention how he flew over to Dubai and then, of course,
he tried Dubai and then the Caribbean. And the other thing, as far as the military, I mean, he already delayed coming to the NHL once. He re-upped with Siska, I believe, 4 years ago. So that's some players, that's your military obligation. Siska, it's still the Red Army team. So again, you're dealing with a fucking psychopath dictator who can do what he wants, and there's all kinds of moving parts here. So hopefully all those guys can get over here. But it's a scary time for those guys and for teams who have the rights for these guys. It's a fucked up situation. But
I know some people joked about it, but even at the draft, like some people now staying away from Russian players or at least making investments in them in the higher rounds. Because of the fear of whether they can even come over here and play and what's going to happen here in the future. So really sucks for some of these kids and hopefully they're able to resolve it all. Yeah,
because they've done nothing wrong. They grew up in a land with a fucked up leader. So, all right, the LA Kings locked up one of their core guys. They signed Adrian Kempe to a 4-year, $22 million deal. He's got a modified no trade clause for the last 2 years. Career high 35 goals to go along with 19 assists in 78 games last year. What does sound about right? $5.5 million for a restricted guy. Nice year last year.
Yeah, I think that if he continues to show that type of goal scoring ability, he's going to get a big payday in a few years. And in the playoffs, that first round against Edmonton, he was phenomenal. I mean, he's got sick wheels. He can score. And LA, another team, right? Let's keep watching because this year was a surprise. And I know, RA, you were still upset about the coach of the year, the Jack Adams, not going to your man who you put a big bet on. Yeah. But I think LA is only going to look better next year, and I think that he's a big reason that all happened is Kempe.
We mentioned the Chris Letang talking to Weekesy as well. 6-year, $36.6 million deal. Full no move clause. Like as a 35-year-old guy, were you surprised at the length of the deal that Letang got? Just, figured they want to keep him out for a couple, but 6 years.
I know. But Biz said like he still plays at a very high level. It's just about 35. Like you're going to 41. Is there still like that recapture penalty that we're talking about with Duncan Keith? Could they still get hit with that if you ever retire? Like how does that work? They still have that?
It's one of those over 35 contracts. I know they had that rule before.
Maybe
I know they've amended it. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure on how that works, but yeah, that's a huge risk if he does retire.
I'm guessing they don't because like
I don't think
I'd be
they give a flying
if
fuck what's going to happen in 4 or 5 years when it's more than likely that Crosby, Malkin for sure now, and Letang are going to be there. There's going to be a rebuild, and they might even need that cap hit to get to the floor, as you just mentioned with the Chicago situation.
All right, one last sign here. Columbus locked up defenseman Adam Boquist with a 3-year, $7.8 million deal. Comes out to $2.6 million a year. And Mr. Grinelli, what did you have for us, my friend?
So I just saw this tweet from David Pagnotta, and it says, if Johnny Gaudreau hits the open market Wednesday as a UFA, I'm told the New York Islanders will be one of the teams to competitively pursue him. What do you guys think of that?
I think that would be amazing. And I think that, did I not say they're one player away? They're one player away from getting over the hump. I think the Islanders are going to have an insane bounce back year. I say easily conference finals for that.
They were my cup. They were my cup pick, and they sniffed the playoffs. But that was a bullshit season. I still just can't believe the coaching situation.
And a nice 1-2 punch with Matty Barzal.
Oh,
and you never know what's going to happen with him, right? So you got to solidify that middle of the ice.
I don't know, but from it just sounds like Jersey and Islanders. He wouldn't be on the team, but we're hearing different things. But so who knows? I can't wait to see how this breaks down.
He ain't going to Jersey.
Going to the Devils.
I'm going to guess Carolina is where he ends up for the reasons we mentioned earlier. One last league note: the season is going to kick off Friday, October 7th in Prague as the Sharks and Preds battle. Then they're going to play again on the 8th, and then Tuesday the 11th, the North American portion of the schedule will start with a pair of games, and the season will end on April 13th. So we're kind of back to that sort of normal NHL schedule once again.
There should no games in June.
I know it'll never happen.
Or July, excuse me. In July.
I agree with you there, buddy. All right,
there are no games in July.
All right, guys. What do we got left here before my brain?
Before we get to the final portion of the program, I want to talk to you about Skrill for a sec. Skrill is the best digital wallet for gamblers because it was built for gamblers. Sophisticated gamblers like to use it to manage their bankroll, whether they're playing games like poker or betting on their favorite sports. They manage their bankroll using the wallet, which allows them to pay instantly and securely. It's payments without limits, basically. You can access their bankroll with instant deposits and withdrawals and also draw the cash using your prepaid card. Let's just say that Skrill is the best digital wallet for sports bettors, so it's a no-brainer to create your free account right this instant. Make sure to sign up at skrill.com/Barstool to create your free account and complete the account verification by clicking follow the game after registering so you can start using their digital wallet today. Check it out, skrill.com/Barstool. All right, boys, a few other notes here before we wrap up. Man, I was talking to Whit before we started. We got to RIP to some mob movie and TV show legends, man. James Caan played Sonny from The Godfather, absolute legend of the screen. He died at 82. And then a day later, Tony Sirico, who played Paulie Walnuts from The Sopranos, died at 79 years old. And, of course, Ray Liotta died a few weeks back from Goodfellas. It's just crazy that, actors portraying three of the most vital characters in three of the most vital mob movies and TV shows in American culture have died in the last month or so. Henry Hill, Sonny Corleone, Paulie Walnuts. And even though we seem to lose like great figures all the time every week, it's just such a coincidence to have three of these guys in the mob world go like this. It's sad. It's sad.
It's nuts. It's James Caan. Holy shit! Just go through the movies that guy was in. Just hit after hit, and honestly, sneaky one of his best performances was in Elf. He was so good at that movie. He's hilarious. It's the guy who was like, "You're not my son." So, Godfather, just a classic. He was so perfect for that role. And then watching the watching the show that was recently out about the making of The Godfather. Remember I talked about that
The Offer.
show?
Yep, The Offer.
The Offer, yeah. And they didn't want him, right? Like James Caan, I don't think they wanted him in that
Wasn't
role.
their first pick, yeah.
Yeah, and then he turned out he was so perfect, like the psychotic snap show and just how it all ended for him in that movie. So, I mean, it's crazy. And then in terms of The Sopranos, I mean, I love how people immediately showed the episode where him and Christopher were stuck in the woods trying to kill the Russian assassin, and they shot him in the head. He's like, I think I got him. So Paulie Walnuts, like, I mean, after Tony Soprano, I think he might be the second most thought of character.
Yeah,
I've watched The Sopranos originally, and then I think just last year, maybe 2 years ago, I rewatched it. Such a great show, and his lines is, oh my god, it's just so funny. And I saw that James Caan also. What was the other thing I saw about him? I'm drawing a blank. I'm like biz brain right now. I'm sorry. I don't know.
Son, maybe. The son, there was a quote from his son, Scott Caan, who, by the way, was one of our tribute.
Yes.
Yeah, he had said that, like James Caan said to his son, Scott, he said, my dad never told me he loved me. So he made sure to tell his kid, like, all the time, like, that he loved me. And I can kind of relate to that, because I think a lot of maybe grandchildren of the greatest generation whose parents were boom is that, that generation didn't necessarily tell their kids they loved them. And, that affects kids as they get older, and then they realize, like, I don't want my kids to feel that way, so they kind of pay it forward in that regard. So that was a pretty nice thing he shared. Also, James Caan, Misery. I know, Whit, you haven't seen it yet. Tremendous movie. He plays the novelist who has an accident, gets saved by his number one fan, who then holds him hostage. You got to watch it, Whit, wherever it's streaming. Thief is a movie I've praised a zillion times in the show. Check that out. Also, Honeymoon in Vegas, another one of his great flicks. And as far as Paulie Walnuts, this is a guy, man. He was a wise. I mean, he was a legit wise guy back in the day. He was doing stick-up jobs, armed robberies. He went away. He got arrested, I think, 28 times. Did a couple jail sentences, and then he was doing. When he was in prison, there was an acting troupe made up of ex-cons who came to his prison, and he got the acting bug, and that's how he started getting into acting. He kind of did bit parts for 20 years, and actually his first speaking part was actually in The Godfather Part 2 as one of the Rosado brothers, and then he was in Goodfellas, but. This is the role of a lifetime, man. This just fell in his lap, tailor-made for it. I think, his lifestyle before that, plus just the Italian accent and everything, just the guy who was tailor-made for the role. So we're sorry to lose these guys, and any family or friends who may be listening, we send you our condolences, because they were some legends. So thanks to those guys for everything they've done. Wimbledon, did you guys catch any of the Wimbledon final? This guy, Nick Kyrgios.
I didn't. I've seen him play before. He's a straight up lunatic, and I'm pretty sure that he needs the madness to play well. It's crazy how he acts. And if you haven't seen him, YouTube some of this guy's. He's screaming his box. He'll be like, it's just an absolute lunatic. And then I didn't see the interview after, but you said he was actually the man.
Yeah, he was doing that during the whole match, and it was entertaining as hell. He's crazy, but once the match was over, it was like the switch went off, and he went over, and his face was smiling. He was congratulating Joker, and walked in, and then Djokovic, like the first 2 minutes of his interview right on the court, had nothing but praise for the guy. Made some jokes. It's actually a really funny clip if you got a minute to listen to it. And how about Djokovic, man? 4th straight time winning Wimbledon, only the 4th guy to ever do that. Like, and I'm not highly the biggest tennis guy. I forget how to score it every time I watch it, but just
he's
a tremendous athlete, man. It's some of these guys, if you're not a tennis fan, put on these high-level matches, and you just appreciate the athleticism and skill that's on display with what these guys do. I know we already talked about golf, but not to go back to it, but did you catch any of the Scottish Open and what your busy weekend?
Nope. Didn't really see much. It was kind of an uneventful. I looked at the highlights and stuff. Xander Schauffele's on fire right now. I am very fired up for the British Open, the Open Championship. Waking up early. I think the coverage starts around 5 a.m. and it's just awesome. I mean, having the chance to golf over in Scotland, England, Ireland, it's nothing beats it. The links, playing it on the ground, the weather. It's just so cool to see guys. It's July here and you turn it on and some guys will have winter hats on. So I don't know who the pick is. That Schauffele's due to win a major, and playing as well as he is right now, I could see him getting it done. But St. Andrews, the home of golf, the 150th Open Championship with Tiger Woods playing, I'm going to be dialed in all weekend.
That's a big deal.
And another story, Greg Norman, he was not invited to the Champions Dinner at the R&A at St. Andrews. That was pretty big news. I mean, it's pretty much a given that these guys come for the Champions Dinner, whatever the tournament is, but Greg Norman, no dice. Do they not want the distraction? Are they that pissed at him? What's your take on that?
I think Greg Norman is just like the black sheep of professional golf. He's trying to take down both the DP World Tour, the PGA Tour, and then news breaks today that as Joe Biden's heading over to Saudi Arabia to beg for oil, all of a sudden the Department of Justice is opening up a case against an antitrust case against the PGA Tour, basically looking into is what they did illegal in terms of banning all of these players from the PGA Tour have signed on with Live Golf. So kind of seems like an odd coincidence as Biden heads over there. Yeah, what the fuck's going on? So I maybe all of these players who are on the Live Tour who can't play on the PGA Tour will be able to do both. There's just so much madness with pro golf right now and all the money that the Saudis are throwing at people. And Greg Norman is the beginning and the creator of all of it. He's been trying to take down the PGA Tour since he was still playing actively. And now you're seeing some true madness in terms of the RNA, not even welcoming a former champion back.
Yeah, pretty big stuff there. Okay, there's some other goofy news, Biz. I know you've run out of gas, but Elon Musk will not be buying Twitter after all. That's the latest. Who knows?
Oh, really?
Yeah, he
$1 billion
the bid. Huh?
$1 billion bucks.
Yeah, what was it? 44 billion he was going to pay.
But because he didn't buy it. In order to start the negotiations, he has to walk away from $1 billion. But he got all the information as to to see, and then he made his conclusion that he didn't want to buy it.
Yeah, I think he wanted to know how many of the accounts were bots and they were weren't sharing the info, and who knows what really went on. I just didn't buy the whole free speech thing. I mean, you're talking about a service that's all over the planet. Now, not every country has free speech, doesn't have what we have in America or Canada or other countries. So the idea that this is somehow free speech, I just didn't buy into it. I mean, it's just free speech is being able to say what you want in your country but it doesn't mean you can log on to a privately owned company on a computer and just say anything willy-nilly. I mean, I got the idea of it, but I just never saw it wasn't to me oh, this is the town square. It doesn't work. The whole planet has different rules and every country is different. So the idea that we're all going to come and talk and it just never, I don't know. I just didn't buy it. To me, free speech is something in your own country. You don't just go on the internet and just say what you want. I don't know. You agree, disagree, don't give a fuck? Whatever.
No clue.
All right.
No clue what I think.
All right, boys.
The battery's dying.
Battery's dying. I know, Biz, before he blanks out on us. Boys, great episode. Lots of news to get to. Huge thanks to Kevin Weeks. He's the best, breaking stories all the time. Any final thoughts before we do a rapperooski here or what?
Don't drink 1,000 drinks at a wedding on a weekend. And that's pretty much all I have to contribute.
Christmas in July.
DHM detox.
It's Christmas in July. Huge sale this week on the Chiclets store, barstoolsports.com/chiclets. All merch 20% off for Tuesday and Wednesday this week. It's Christmas in July. It's the gift that keeps on giving, baby.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. Can't wait for free agency, and we will see you all next week. And look out, Buffalo. We're coming.
Have a good one.